Good morning, my dear friend. The morning is breaking gently over your day. The sky is still quiet. The streets are not yet fully awake. And there is a soft hush over everything, as if the world itself is holding its breath. This is the hour when the light has only begun to touch the horizon, when the shadows are still long, and when the heart, if it dares to listen, can hear more clearly than at any other time. This is not just another moment on the clock. This is a sacred window, a thin place between your weary yesterday and the grace that is waiting for you today. Maybe you are listening right now with swollen eyes after a long night. Perhaps you have been rolling from one side of the bed to the other, your mind running in circles around the same questions. How will I pay that bill? What if the test results are bad? What if the person I love never comes back? You might be carrying a grief that no one fully understands, a fear you are embarrassed to admit, or a disappointment that has quietly hollowed out your joy. On the outside you still function. You still smile when you need to. But on the inside you feel like a house with lights turned off in every room. Maybe there was a season when you felt close to God, when faith seemed simple, when prayer felt natural, but life happened. A loss you did not expect, a betrayal you never imagined, a door that stayed shut no matter how many times you knocked. Now, if you are honest, you are not even sure what to say to God anymore. You are tired of glitches. You are tired of telling yourself to be strong. You are tired of pretending that you are fine when your soul is clearly not. If that is where you are not alone. Many hearts have stood exactly where you are standing now, in this gray space between night and morning, between doubt and hope, between fear and trust. And it is often in this very place, in the quiet before the noise, that something holy can begin. Not because you suddenly become more spiritual, not because you find perfect words, because you dare to show up exactly as you are. Prayer is not a performance for the strong. It is a lifeline for the honest. It is less about having the right vocabulary and more about bringing your real heart into the presence of a very real God. Faith does not always feel like fire. Sometimes it feels like a trembling whisper that still chooses to reach out, even when nothing looks different yet. But there is a mystery here. When a fragile soul reaches toward heaven in the early morning, heaven always bends low to listen. In these coming moments, you are invited into more than a set of words. You are being invited into a journey, a slow and steady walk from heaviness into hope, from confusion into clarity, from anxiety into peace. This journey will touch your pain, your memories, your fears about the future, your relationships, your calling, and even the things you have never told anyone. It will not rush you. It will not shame you. It will gently take you by the hand and lead you deeper into the heart of God. So, as the first light of this new day begins to spread across your sky, I want to invite you to do something simple and yet deeply powerful. Take a breath. Let your shoulders relax. Allow your heart, just for a moment, to stop defending itself and to stop pretending. You do not have to fix yourself before you come to God. You do not have to understand everything before you trust. You only need to be willing. If you are willing, Right where you are, open the door of your inner room. Let this be the morning when you stop running from the one who loves you most. Let this be the moment when you choose to step into a real conversation with him, with all your questions and all your tears. The night has been long, but the morning has come. Now, let us begin to talk to God together. Dear Heavenly Father, the morning is still soft around me, and silence rests like a blanket on everything. The light has not yet found its full color, but it begins to press through the thin edges of the curtain, reminding me that another day has begun. My eyes are open, but my heart feels heavy, as though I have carried yesterday into today without knowing how to set it down. My mind is a crowded room of unfinished thoughts and quiet fears, and yet I find myself here, before you, because I do not want to start this day without your presence near me. I confess that I wake up often feeling tired before the day even begins. The weight of things I cannot control has made my mornings feel like small battles. And sometimes I question if prayer still changes anything at all. There are moments when I whisper your name and wonder if you still hear me, if my voice can still reach beyond this ceiling of worries that presses down on me. Yet, something deeper than my doubt keeps bringing me here, to this early hour when the world is still half asleep, and your spirit quietly moves among those who seek you. I do not bring perfect words, but I bring an honest heart. I am not here to impress you with strength, but to let you see how weak I really am. My fears have multiplied, and sometimes they shout louder than my faith. I fear failure, loss, rejection, and the silence of unanswered prayers. I fear the emptiness that comes when I give everything I can and still feel unseen. But I also know that fear has never told me the truth. Fear is loud, but you are steady. Fear shakes, but you remain. So, even when my faith feels small, I am still choosing to turn toward you this morning, because even the smallest turn toward your light can push back the darkest night. There is a strange beauty in these early hours. The air feels sacred, as though the heavens bend low to listen. I can almost sense your breath moving through the quiet, reminding me that I am not alone in this room. The walls that have witnessed my tears have also witnessed your mercy. The same dawn that rises for millions around the world now rises for me, too. It feels like a quiet promise that no night lasts forever, that no heart stays broken beyond your reach. I bring you my thoughts, scattered and restless. I bring you my body, tired and tense. I bring you my emotions that swing like a pendulum between hope and despair. Take them. Shape them. Breathe through them. Let this morning not just be another rotation of time, but a new beginning of trust. I want to believe that the moment I turn my gaze toward you, the atmosphere begins to change, not because I said the right words, but because you are already near, waiting for me to notice. Teach me how to meet you here, before the noise begins. Teach me to let silence be a sanctuary and not a punishment. I want to learn how to rest in you before I run into the rush of this day. I do not want to carry my anxiety into every conversation, my fear into every plan, or my regret into every hour. I want to breathe differently, walk differently, think differently, because your presence is the air I now live in. You know the things that have stolen my peace, the voices that tell me I am not enough, the memories that visit uninvited, the disappointments that still echo in the corners of my heart. You see how I try to fix what only you can heal. You see how I build walls to protect myself, not realizing those same walls keep you out. So here I am, lowering my defenses, even if it feels risky, if my heart breaks open in the process. Let it be the kind of breaking that lets light in. I do not ask you to remove every struggle today, but to be visible in the middle of them. Let your presence fill the empty spaces inside me until fear has no room left to sit. Let your peace wash through my chest like morning air after a storm. Let me feel again the simple truth that I am still loved, still chosen, still held. I do not want this day to begin with my schedule or my phone or my worries. I want it to begin with you. If the world forgets me today, remind me that you never will. If my plans fall apart, remind me that you still hold the map. If my strength fails, let me fall into your arms instead of into despair. I want to see this sunrise not as proof that time has passed, but as proof that grace has returned again, fresh and undeserved. So here I am, sitting in the first light of morning, speaking the truth of my weakness and the truth of your strength. Here I am, offering the smallness of my faith to the vastness of your love. I do not know what today will hold, but I know who holds me. That is enough for now. Keep me in this stillness a little longer before the day begins. Let my soul learn once again how to breathe in peace and exhale trust, until the morning fully breaks and my heart can rise with it. Father, the light that brushed the edge of my room has now begun to spread, and I can feel it gently touching my face, as if reminding me that life is still happening, even when I feel uncertain. The quiet from before is still here, but it has changed shape. It feels less like emptiness and more like invitation. I sense that you are near, even if I cannot see you. There is a pull inside me, soft but steady, drawing my attention away from the noise of my thoughts towards something far more solid and real. I know this feeling. It is the whisper that calls me back to where I belong, to look toward you again. Yesterday's weight still lingers around my chest, but now it feels lighter. I realize that much of my pain has come from where I have fixed my gaze. I have spent so many mornings staring at the problems before me, measuring their size, counting their power, and comparing them to my own weakness. My eyes have memorized every shadow, every sign of what could go wrong. But this morning, Lord, I want to lift them higher. I want to look beyond what is breaking to the one who holds all things together. I want my first sight to belong to you, not to my fears. There is something sacred about this turning. This slow, deliberate movement of the heart toward heaven. It does not erase my questions or silence the H, but it begins to rearrange the atmosphere within me. The moment I look up, I notice how different the world feels. The same sky that seemed heavy a moment ago now carries a calm light, as if you were painting hope across it one quiet stroke at a time. The sound of the morning birds becomes a kind of worship, reminding me that creation itself wakes to praise you before doing anything else. Maybe this is what I have been missing, this awareness, that life always begins by looking up. God, I do not want to start another day by bowing to my distractions. So often I reach for my phone before I reach for your presence. I fill my mind with headlines and tasks before my spirit has had a chance to breathe. Forgive me for the ways I have replaced communion with consumption. For the mornings I have built my world around information instead of revelation. I see now how those choices have shaped my soul, how they have trained me to look everywhere but at you. I want to break that pattern. I want to begin differently. Let my first glance today be upward, not outward. Let my first thought be gratitude, not anxiety. As I sit here, I imagine myself standing before a vast horizon. Behind me are all the worries that have chased me through the night. Before me stretches the open sky of possibility. I hear you whisper, lift your eyes, and I obey. When I do, something inside me steadies. I cannot explain it, but I feel a quiet strength returning, not loud or dramatic, but firm, as though my soul is remembering its rightful posture. You have not changed, even when everything else has shifted. You remain, and because you remain, I am not undone. There are still things I do not understand. The road ahead is still uncertain, and my heart still trembles at what might come. Yet in this still moment, you are teaching me that faith is not blindness. It is direction. It is where I choose to look when I cannot yet see the full picture. I have been staring too long at the storm, forgetting that you are the calm within it. So now, instead of tracing every wave, I fix my eyes on the one who walks upon them. Lord, open the eyes of my spirit to see you woven into the ordinary. Let me notice the kindness hidden in small things, the warmth of sunlight on my hand, the steady rhythm of breath in my chest, the memory of someone who once prayed for me. These are not coincidences. They are threads of your presence, gently pulling me back to awareness. Help me to carry that awareness through the day so that no matter what I face, I keep looking at you first. I can feel something shifting as I say this. The tension that usually fills my mornings is loosening its grip. My shoulders drop a little. My breathing slows. The world outside is beginning to stir, but inside me, peace is slowly waking up. I realize that looking at you does not always change what I see, but it changes how I see it. The same tasks, the same people, the same responsibilities now appear under a softer light. The impossible no longer feels absolute. The uncertain no longer feels fatal. Because when my gaze finds you, perspective follows. I think of how the sun moves across the earth quietly, consistently, without needing permission. It does not rush, yet it never fails to rise. I want my faith to move like that today, not in haste, not in fear, but in quiet certainty. I want my thoughts to orbit around you, not around what threatens me. When my mind begins to wander toward anxiety, draw me back to this stillness. When I am tempted to control what I cannot, remind me to look again at your face and find rest there. Sometimes, Lord, the hardest thing is not believing you exist, but remembering to turn toward you when everything feels urgent. Help me not to treat your presence as a place I visit, but as the air I breathe. Train my eyes to seek you, in every detail the laughter of a child, the honesty of a friend, the courage to forgive, the patience to wait. Each of these is a glimpse of you, a reflection of the divine written into the fabric of ordinary life. I do not want to miss them anymore. Father, as this morning stretches into day, I offer you my attention as an act of worship. Where my thoughts wander, bring them home. Where my eyes drift toward despair, lift them again to hope. Let my focus be a prayer, my awareness a song. Teach me that true devotion is not just in words, but in the direction of my gaze. Even when I am busy, even when I am afraid, even when I fail, let the tilt of my heart always turn toward you first. The sun is climbing now, and the room is filled with new light. For the first time in a long while, I am not trying to outrun the day. I am ready to meet it, not because everything is fixed, but because I am learning where to look. My hope is not in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of a faithful God who meets me right here. At the beginning, as the morning quietly unfolds, Lord, as the light grows stronger around me, I feel a quiet stirring in my chest. It is not excitement, but something gentler recognition. I begin to remember. The room looks the same. The air still carries the stillness of morning. Yet my heart feels more awake than it did before. Perhaps this is what happens when the soul starts to turn back toward gratitude. You remind me that before I ask for anything new, I must first look back and see what you have already done. And so, Father, I pause here, letting memory become worship. It is strange how quickly the mind forgets the miracles that once felt unforgettable. I have walked through days when I was certain I would not make it, and yet here I am. I have cried through nights when I thought the morning would never come, and yet it did. I have seen doors open that no hand of mine could have unlocked. And I have been carried through storms that should have broken me. But time dulls the shine of mercy, does not it? We call the miraculous ordinary once it becomes familiar. Yet you were there, quietly moving, rearranging the impossible into the inevitable. God, I remember moments when your hand was so near I could feel it without seeing it. The bills that somehow got paid when there was nothing left. The illness that began to heal when hope was nearly gone. The reconciliation that came after years of silence. The peace that appeared without reason, soft as light through old windows. Each one of these moments was a whisper of grace. A sign that you have never stopped working in the background of my life. How many times have I missed your fingerprints because I was too busy waiting for fireworks? How many times have I overlooked the quiet rescue because I wanted a dramatic one? There is a rhythm to your miracles, Lord. They do not shout. They hum beneath the surface of ordinary days. They appear in the timing of a stranger's kindness. The right words spoken at the right time. The sudden courage to face what I thought would destroy me. These are not coincidences. They are divine threads weaving through my story, holding it together when it felt like it was falling apart. And I see now that remembering them is not nostalgia, it is faith renewed. I think of the way a gardener looks at old roots. What is buried still feeds what grows. The miracles of yesterday become the nourishment of today's trust. Every answered prayer, every small victory, every moment of unexpected mercy, these are the roots beneath my current faith. Without them, I would have no reason to keep believing. But with them, I can stand even in the wind. You have given me evidence of your faithfulness, not as decoration, but as foundation. Lord, help me remember rightly, not through the lens of pride, as if I earned your blessings, but through humility, knowing that I never could have. Let each memory be a doorway that leads back to gratitude, and through gratitude to deeper trust. Remind me that what you did once, you can do again and again, because your nature has not changed. You do not run out of mercy. You do not tire of grace. You are not limited by my understanding. You are the same God who has walked beside me all along, even when I mistook your silence for absence. As I let my mind wander back, I recall one particular season when I felt completely lost. Every plan I made collapsed. Every person I leaned on stepped away. I remember sitting alone, unable to pray, just breathing in brokenness. But somehow, even then, something unseen held me together. Days later, a friend called, out of nowhere, saying they had been thinking of me. That simple moment, so small in the grand scale of life, became the spark that lit hope again. Looking back, I see it now. That was you, Father, working through the kindness of another to reach me. How could I forget? The world often teaches us to move on quickly, to keep chasing the next thing. But I see now that spiritual strength is not found in rushing forward. It is found in remembering backward. Every miracle is a reminder that I have been carried. I am not self-made. I am mercy-kept. I am not lucky. I am loved. When I forget that, I begin to believe I am alone. But when I remember, faith blooms again, quietly and steadily. The morning light has deepened now, stretching across the room like a living reminder of your consistency. The sun does not forget to rise, just as you do not forget to keep your promises. And I, too, must not forget. I must anchor myself in the truth that you have already proven yourself faithful. This remembrance does not make life easier, but it makes my heart steadier. When I recall how many times you have brought me through, the unknown ahead feels less frightening. Father, let this remembering not be a one-time act, but a daily rhythm. Teach me to trace your goodness in my past, so that I can trust your goodness in my future. When fear tells me I will fail, let memory answer with evidence of victory. When doubt whispers that you have abandoned me, let memory speak of the countless times you showed up just in time. Let the past become a teacher, not a tormentor. Let it remind me that you were with me in the valley before, and you will be with me in every valley still to come. Sometimes, Lord, I imagine that heaven keeps a record of every tear turned into strength, every moment of despair turned into endurance. And perhaps you smile when I finally notice how none of it was wasted. The delays that frustrated me, the detours that confused me, the endings that felt cruel, they were all pieces of a story that looked like chaos, but was really choreography. You were writing something larger than my understanding, and even now, you still are. The morning feels different now, Gratitude fills the space where fear used to live. The air tastes cleaner, as if remembering has purified it. My heart beats steadier. My breath falls into rhythm with peace. I am not the same person who woke up burdened an hour ago. I am lighter, not because my problems disappeared, but because I have remembered the one who never did. So here, in this simple moment, I thank you not for what I am asking, but for what I have already received. I thank you for every unseen mercy, every quiet rescue, every unspoken comfort. I thank you for being faithful when I was faithless, patient when I was stubborn, and near when I thought I was alone. These memories are not just stories. They are altars. And as the morning grows brighter, I kneel in my heart beside them once more, finding strength in remembrance and courage for what is yet to come. God, as my heart settles in the calm that remembering brings, I feel you leading me into a deeper place, a place not just of gratitude, but of release. The light through the window has grown brighter now, spreading across the floor in quiet persistence, touching everything without asking permission. And in its stillness, I hear what you are whispering. It is time to let go. The same hands that can hold blessings must also learn how to open when it is time to surrender. Father, I have spent so much of my life trying to hold the reins, to shape outcomes, to plan my way through uncertainty. I believed control would keep me safe. But instead, it has kept me anxious. I have gripped tightly to what was never mine to manage: people, timelines, outcomes, even pain. I have treated surrender like defeat, when all this time it has been an invitation. You never asked me to understand every path, only to trust the one who guides it. Yet I confess how easily I forget that. My instinct is to wrestle for control instead of resting in faith. Lord, teach me what surrender really means, not as resignation, but as alignment. Help me understand that giving up my need to control is not losing power, but returning it to the rightful place into your hands. You see what I cannot. You move in spaces I will never touch. Every breath I take is proof that I am sustained by something beyond myself. Still, I struggle. The human heart clings to what it fears to lose, and I am no different. I want to trust you, but sometimes my trust comes wrapped in conditions. I say, take my life, but then I whisper, only if it goes my way. There is something painful about open hands. They feel vulnerable, exposed, unable to grasp. But perhaps that is where true peace begins, in the space where nothing is clutched and everything is offered. I think of the seed buried in the soil. It must break open before it grows. The breaking is not its end. It is its beginning. So too must I be willing to break the shell of control, to allow you to plant me in the unknown, trusting that growth will come even if I cannot see it yet. Father, I give you the things that keep me up at night, the unfinished prayers, the lingering doubts, the faces of those I love but cannot change. I lay them before you, one by one, not because I have stopped caring, but because I finally see that my caring cannot fix them. Only your grace can. I release the desire to predict how things will unfold. I release the fear that if I do not manage every detail, everything will fall apart. I release the illusion that my worth depends on my ability to keep everything together. You are the keeper. You are the constant. I am safe in letting go. Still, surrender is not easy. It feels unnatural to trust in what I cannot see. The world celebrates control plans, goals, certainty, but you ask for something quieter. Faith, not a faith that demands signs, but a faith that rests even when signs are absent. It is hard, Lord, to stay still when my instinct is to fix. It is hard to wait when I crave results. Yet here, in the slow rhythm of the morning, I sense you teaching me how to breathe differently, to exhale worry and inhale trust, to see that surrender is not the end of effort. It is the beginning of peace. God, help me surrender my timeline. I confess how impatient I become when things take longer than I think they should. I count the days, the months, the years, and wonder if you have forgotten the promises whispered long ago. But you move in eternal rhythm, not human hurry. Remind me that waiting is not wasting. The delay is often the preparation. The pause is often the protection. And while I wait, you are not absent. You are working in silence, shaping what I am not yet ready to carry. Let this truth quiet the noise of my impatience. Lord, I also surrender the need to be understood. Too often, I exhaust myself trying to explain my heart to those who cannot see it. But you see, you know every hidden corner of my soul, every motive, every wound. I do not need to prove my worth to you. In surrendering the need for validation, I find freedom. I find the peace that comes from knowing I am fully known and still fully loved. Teach me to rest in that truth instead of seeking approval that never lasts. There is power in saying, I do not know. When spoken with trust, those 3 words open space for you to work where my wisdom ends. When I admit my limits, I make room for your infinite strength. So here I am, God, acknowledging that I do not know how everything will unfold today. I do not know how long the struggle will last or how the pieces will fit together. But I choose to surrender what I do not know into the hands of the one who knows all. The morning sunlight has now fully entered the room, illuminating every hidden corner. It reminds me that nothing hidden from you is left untouched, just as light finds every shadow. So does your presence reach every part of my life. I no longer need to hide the pieces I cannot control. I can simply bring them into the light. In doing so, they lose their power to haunt me. Father, let surrender become my rhythm, not my emergency plan. Let it be my first instinct, not my last resort. When fear rises, let my response be release. When pride whispers that I can handle it alone, remind me that peace is not built on independence, but on intimacy with you. I do not want to live clenched anymore. I want to live open to grace, open to change, open to whatever you are shaping in me through the letting go. I look outside and see the world beginning its motion, people walking, engines starting, the hum of daily life returning. But here, within this stillness, I choose to remain surrendered. I will walk through this day, not with the armor of control, but with the gentleness of trust. I will meet uncertainty not with panic, but with prayer. I will lift what I cannot carry and place it where it belongs in your keeping. God, let every breath I take today be an act of surrender. Let my heart stay open, my spirit flexible, my hands willing to release what is not mine. Teach me that letting go is not the same as losing it, is making room for peace, making room for love, making room for you. And as this day unfolds, let my surrendered heart move quietly in rhythm with yours, trusting that even in the letting go, I am held closer than ever before. Lord, after surrender comes a strange and gentle strength. It does not roar like victory, it hums like peace. The moment I stopped clinging, something within me steadied, as if your quiet hand had taken the weight I did not even know I was still carrying. The morning light has shifted again and is no longer the soft gold of dawn, but a brighter, bolder glow. It feels like a reflection of what is happening in my soul. The calm that comes not from control, but from trust. I realize now that every day will bring its battles, but not all of them will be loud. Some wars are fought silently, in thoughts, in patience, in choosing kindness when anger feels easier, and for those unseen battles. Father, I need your strength. You know, God, that my greatest struggles often happen when no one is watching. The world may see the outer calm, the smile, the steady routine, but you see the storms underneath. You see the moments when doubt circles like a shadow, when temptation whispers, when fear tries to reclaim the territory that peace has just won. These are not grand battles, yet they shape my soul more than any public victory. They are fought in whispers, in choices, in seconds that test who I truly am. I cannot face them alone. I do not want to. Father, give me strength that looks like gentleness, the kind that does not need to shout to be powerful. Let it be the kind of strength that remains kind when provoked, patient when ignored, and calm when the world demands reaction. The kind that bends without breaking, the kind that holds truth without hardening into pride. I do not ask to be strong in the way the world defines it. I ask to be strong in love, strong in faith, strong in grace. When I wake each morning, the battle begins quietly. The first thought I allow determines the rhythm of the day. Sometimes, that thought is peace, but other times, it is worry. I feel it rush in like a tide, washing over the stillness you have given me. I try to resist it, but without you, I drown in it. That is why, Lord, I need your strength before I even rise from bed. Let it guard the borders of my mind like a wall of light. Let it meet anxiety before it takes root. Let it stand between me and despair, reminding me that I am not fighting for victory, but from victory, because you are already within me. I think of how easily the day can pull me away from your presence. One distraction, one argument, one moment of disappointment, and I forget what I just prayed for. The heart is quick to wander, but you are patient. You always call me back not with condemnation, but with invitation. Come back, you seem to whisper. Start again. And that, Lord, is a strength I want to carry. The courage to begin again after failing, to return to grace after drifting, to forgive myself as freely as you forgive me. There are days when the strength I need is not for action, but for endurance, to keep believing when nothing seems to change, to keep showing up when it feels useless, to keep loving when it hurts. You know how easily weariness creeps in, how it disguises itself as apathy, how it convinces me to settle for less than faith. In those moments, Father, lift my spirit. Remind me that even slow progress is still progress, and that quiet obedience is never wasted. The smallest act of faith still echoes in eternity. Lord, there are also battles I fight within my heart between compassion and judgment, between hope and cynicism, between humility and pride. Sometimes, I want to choose what feels easier rather than what feels holy. I want to be right more than I want to be kind. I want to win more than I want to love. But each time I lean toward the lesser thing, I feel the emptiness that follows. You gently show me that true strength is not in domination, but in restraint, not in argument, but in understanding. Teach me how to respond instead of react, how to speak life instead of proving a point. Let my strength be measured not by how I resist others, but by how I resemble you, God. I think of how a tree grows, its strength hidden beneath the soil, its roots unseen but deep. No one applauds the roots, but without them, nothing stands. Let my roots go deep in you. Let my unseen strength come from the quiet hours when no one else is around, when it is just you and me and the stillness that tests who I truly am. When I am tempted to chase recognition, remind me that unseen faithfulness matters more than visible success. The greatest victories are often the ones only you and I will ever know. Father, when the day becomes heavy and my patience wears thin, teach me to pause rather than quit. Let silence become my ally, not my escape. In that silence, help me to hear you, to sense your nearness in the rhythm of my breath, to remember that I do not walk through this day as a soldier abandoned on the battlefield, but as a child held close by a faithful father. You never leave me unarmed. You equip me with grace. My weakness is not a liability, it is the doorway through which your power enters. The light outside is changing again. The morning has grown into day. The air now humming with life. I know the world is moving faster beyond these walls, and soon I must step into it. There will be traffic, noise, voices. It demands all the small frictions that test the spirit. But as I stand here, I remind myself, I am not stepping into chaos unprepared. I am stepping in carrying peace. I am stepping in carrying you. The same quiet that filled this room can fill every moment if I choose to stay aware. Strength is not something I leave behind. It travels with me in the form of trust. So, Lord, as this new day unfolds, let my strength be soft enough to love yet firm enough to stand. Let it flow not from pride, but from presence, not from willpower, but from communion. Let me move through the noise without losing the stillness within. When I am provoked, let me answer with grace. When I am weary, let me draw from your endless well. When I am afraid, remind me that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to keep walking while holding your hand. The world beyond the window is now bright and awake. I take one last breath before I go, And in that breath, I find what I have been searching for all along, the quiet confidence that I am not alone. Every unseen battle, every silent prayer, every act of kindness that goes unnoticed, they are all part of a greater story you are writing through me. And so, I go forward not as one who must prove her strength, but as one who already carries yours within her, steady and sure, like the sunlight now filling the day. Father, as I step forward into the fullness of the day, I can feel the hum of life all around me. The stillness of morning has passed, replaced by the movement of people, the rhythm of tasks, the weight of responsibilities waiting to be carried. Yet, beneath it all, there is a quiet voice that reminds me nothing that lies ahead is unknown to you. Every step I will take today has already been seen. Every turn already mapped by hands far wiser than mine. And yet, Lord, even with that truth, uncertainty still tries to whisper its doubts into my soul. It hides behind simple questions. What if? How long? What now? And if I am not careful? Those questions grow louder than faith. God, teach me how to walk when the path is unclear, not with fear disguised as caution, but with steady courage born of trust. I want to live a life that believes you not only in what is seen, but in what is still hidden. The human heart longs for certainty. It craves control and clarity, but faith is a different language. It speaks in the dialect of trust. Not proof. It asks me to keep moving even when visibility fades, to step into the fog with the assurance that your hand is guiding me, even when I cannot trace it. Lord, I have learned that uncertainty is not the absence of your presence. It is often the place where your presence becomes most real. When everything is predictable, I rely on myself. But when the ground shifts beneath me, I begin to rely on you. It is in those moments of unknowing that faith grows its deepest roots. You do not call me to understand the journey. You call me to walk it, one step at a time, trusting that light will appear when it is time to see. Sometimes, I look back on the seasons that once terrified me, the ones where I cried for answers that never came, and I realize now that you were answering in silence. You were shaping strength where I only saw a struggle, building resilience in places I thought were ruin. I see it now. Father, the unanswered prayers were not neglect. They were protection. The detours were not punishment. They were direction. And the waiting was not wasted. It was preparation. Still, it is not easy. My mind loves to wander into the realm of what-ifs. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I lose what I love? What if I never reach what I have prayed for? But you, Lord, gently call me back each time. You remind me that faith is not about removing uncertainty. It is about remaining steadfast within it. It is not about predicting the outcome, but trusting the author. You ask me to live in the tension between knowing and not knowing, believing that you are good in both. Father, give me the kind of faith that walks without needing to see the entire map. Let me find peace in small steps, not finished plans. Teach me to trust your pace, even when it feels slow. I know that sometimes you allow the fog to stay, so that I will learn to listen more closely for your voice. Sometimes you withhold the full picture, so that I will stay near enough to hear you whisper. This is the way, walk in it. And perhaps that is the secret of walking with you. Not to see where I am going, but to stay close enough to follow. I think of the stories of those who walked by faith before me, the ones who left comfort for calling, who moved before the path was clear, who built without seeing the full design. They, too, faced uncertainty, yet each of them found you faithful in ways they never could have imagined. Their courage was not built on clarity, but on communion with you. I want to live that way, Lord, not waiting for reassurance before obeying, not demanding answers before trusting. Let my obedience become my confidence. The world tells me to plan everything, to calculate, predict, prepare for every possibility, but your word teaches me something deeper. That trust is stronger than strategy. This does not mean I live carelessly. It means I live surrendered. I can prepare, I can plan, but I cannot control. And in that space where my preparation ends, your providence begins. You have never failed me, and you will not start now. God, when fear of the unknown rises, help me anchor myself in what is known. Your character, your goodness, your promises. When my path is uncertain, let my confidence rest in who you are, not in where I am going. Let my heart remember that you are not just ahead of me. You are beside me and within me. You are the steady presence that turns uncertainty into opportunity. Sometimes, I wish faith came with guarantees that if I just believed enough, the path would be smooth, the answers clear. But perhaps that would not be faith at all. Real faith is choosing to trust when there are no guarantees. It is looking into the void and believing there is love waiting there. It is standing on the edge of what I cannot see and saying, even here, you are good, Lord. I surrender my obsession with certainty. I release my need to know the outcome. Instead, I ask for peace in the process. Give me the grace to trust that even when I take a step in the dark, I am still walking in your light. Let me remember that faith is not about the absence of doubt, but the choice to move forward despite it. Let each step I take today be an act of worship, a declaration that I believe you are enough, even when the future is not. As I lift my eyes to the sky, I see clouds drifting across the blue, their shapes constantly changing yet never falling apart. They move where the wind carries them, never resisting, never worrying where they will land. Maybe that is what trust looks like, to let your spirit be the wind that moves me, even when I do not know the destination. To drift in surrender, not in fear. To believe that wherever you carry me will be good, because you are good. Father, let this faith not be fleeting. Let it not vanish the moment something unexpected happens. Let it live deep within me, rooted in remembrance, watered by surrender, strengthened through every unseen battle. Let me walk through uncertainty not with trembling hands, but with a steady heart. Let me face the unknown not as a threat, but as an invitation to discover again that you are enough. And as the day unfolds, I will keep reminding myself that every breath is borrowed grace, every moment an opportunity to trust you more. I may not know where this road leads, but I know the one who walks beside me. And that is enough. That has always been enough. Lord, as I keep walking through this day, the light changes once more. It is no longer the bright promise of morning or the restless energy of early work. It is softer now, quieter, as if the world itself is pausing to breathe. And in that stillness, I sense something stirring, a reminder that faith is not only about walking, but also about listening. I have spoken many words, prayed many prayers, but now I feel you inviting me into a gentler rhythm, a place where I no longer fill the silence with my own voice, but open my heart to hear yours. Father, I confess that I am not always good at listening. I fill the quiet with my thoughts, my worries, my endless planning. I ask for guidance and then rush to act before you have even finished whispering. I mistake my own impulses for your direction, my fears for discernment. Yet you are patient. You wait for me to slow down, to notice, to listen. You do not shout over the noise of my mind. You wait until I am still enough to recognize the sound of your presence. There have been moments, Lord, when I have heard you not through thunder or spectacle, but through the quiet nudge of peace that came after prayer, through the way a single verse suddenly felt alive, through the words of someone who unknowingly spoke exactly what I needed to hear. Those moments are rare not because you rarely speak, but because I rarely stop long enough to listen. Teach me how to cultivate a heart that listens more than it demands. God, I want to know your voice so clearly that even in confusion, I can recognize the echo of your love. I want to discern your guidance not by signs alone, but by the still conviction that grows within when something aligns with your truth. Let me not chase after loud affirmations, but learn to trust the quiet assurance that never contradicts peace. Remind me that you lead not by force, but by invitation. You do not drag me forward. You draw me closer. Sometimes, your voice comes disguised in the ordinary, the laughter of a child, the calm of nature, the unexpected kindness of a stranger. Other times, it is wrapped in correction, asking me to let go of something I have clung to too tightly. Both are love, both are guidance. Help me not to resist the uncomfortable parts of your leading, for they often lead me to freedom I did not know I needed. You do not always lead me toward comfort. Sometimes, you lead me toward growth. Father, help me discern the difference between the noise of my mind and the whisper of your spirit. When anxiety disguises itself as urgency, slow me down. When fear disguises itself as logic, open my eyes. When pride disguises itself as confidence, humble me. I do not want to follow my emotions. I want to follow your wisdom. And I know that to do that, I must first learn to recognize your presence even when it feels like silence. There is a story in Scripture that often lingers in my thoughts, the prophet waiting for you to speak through the wind, the earthquake, and the fire, only to discover you in the gentle whisper. That image always moves me, because it reminds me that you are not interested in performance. You are present in stillness. You do not demand my panic. You desire my peace. And in that peace, I can finally hear you. Lord, I realize now that guidance is not always about directions, it is about alignment. It is not a map you hand me. It is a transformation of my inner compass. The closer I walk with you, the more naturally my steps align with your will. I begin to desire what you desire, to choose what pleases you, not because I am forced to, but because peace becomes the marker of truth. Your spirit does not lead through confusion. Where there is unrest, I have likely wandered ahead of you. Where there is calm conviction, even in uncertainty, there you are. I have made choices before that seemed right at first glance, decisions that sparkled with logic, but lacked your blessing. They taught me something invaluable. Not every open door is from you, and not every closed one is a curse. Sometimes, the delay is direction. Sometimes, the silence is safety. When I cannot see the next step, help me trust that no movement is better than moving without you. Teach me that waiting can be an act of obedience too. Father, when I ask for your voice, let me not seek it as a shortcut, but as companionship. You do not exist to confirm my plans, but to shape them. When I say, lead me, let me mean it even if your leading takes me down a road I did not expect. Give me the humility to be redirected without resentment, the patience to be delayed without despair, and the discernment to recognize when the answer is not yet. There are times, God, when I wish your guidance came in clearer ways, flashing signs. Audible instructions, a message I could not possibly misunderstand, but perhaps that would rob me of something sacred, the intimacy of learning to walk by faith. If you made every choice obvious, I would follow out of convenience. Not relationship, but in the tension of not knowing, I learned dependence. I learned to listen beyond words, to sense you in timing, in peace, in conviction. That is the real gift of guidance. It keeps me near you. Lord, help me to stay sensitive to your nudges throughout the day. When I feel a sudden urge to encourage someone, let me not dismiss it as coincidence. When I feel a pull to pause and pray, let me not rush past it. When conviction rises gently within, let me not silence it. These are your whispers, subtle, sacred, easy to miss but heavy with purpose. Make me attentive, make me responsive, make me soft enough to be moved by the smallest breath of your spirit. The more I think about it, the more I realize that divine guidance is not a moment, it is a posture. It is a way of living alert, surrendered, listening beneath the noise of daily life. It is keeping one ear tuned to heaven, even while my hands work on earth. It is choosing to move only when peace says yes, and to pause when restlessness says wait. It is trusting that even when I misstep, grace will reroute me. Father, I want to live like that, with the kind of awareness that turns ordinary days into sacred ground. When I walk into meetings, let me sense your prompting. When I speak with others, let your wisdom guide my tone. When I face decisions, let peace be the compass. And when I lie down at night, let me look back and see that even in small, unseen ways, you led me. Now, as the day continues, the light outside has softened again, the kind of light that carries both warmth and humility. It feels like a mirror of what you are forming inside me, a soul learning to walk with quiet confidence, guided not by fear, but by the steady whisper of your spirit. And in that realization, Lord, I find comfort. I may not hear thunder, I may not see signs, but I have your peace, and that is how I know I am exactly where you want me to be. Father, as I continue walking through this day guided by your quiet whisper, I feel you turning my attention inward once more, not to correct me, but to comfort me, because even when I try to follow, even when I listen carefully and trust deeply, I still fall short. I still stumble in thought, in word, in action. And yet, somehow, you do not withdraw. You do not shame. You meet me there, in the middle of my imperfection, and remind me that grace was never earned, it was always given. Lord, it is easy to believe in your mercy when I am strong, when my faith feels steady, when my heart is clear. But when I fail, when I lose my temper, when I doubt your timing or judge another, shame comes swiftly, whispering that I am unworthy. It tells me that I have undone everything you have done in me. But then your voice cuts through the noise, not harsh, not disappointed, just steady and kind. You remind me that my weakness does not disqualify me from your love. It qualifies me for grace, because grace was made for the undeserving. God, teach me to live honestly before you, to stop hiding my flaws as though they surprise you. You knew every fault I would carry long before I took my first breath, and yet you called me yours. There is a strange freedom in that truth, that I can stop pretending, stop performing, and simply be real. When I lay down my pretense, you lift the burden of perfection. You show me that holiness is not about flawless behavior. It is about being fully surrendered to love. I think of how many times I have tried to earn what you have already given: your favor, your forgiveness, your approval. I measure my worth by my performance, by how consistent or disciplined I have been. But grace does not operate in transactions. It flows through relationship. It is not a reward for effort, but a river that meets me exactly where I am. And when I drink from it, I am changed not by striving harder, but by resting deeper. Father, I know you see the moments I wish no one did, the quiet frustrations, the unspoken envy, the thoughts I wish I could take back. But instead of condemning me, you invite me to bring them into the light. You do not fix me with force. You transform me through presence. When I confess, you do not point to my sin. You point to the cross, to the place where mercy triumphed over judgment. In that place, my guilt dissolves, and my heart begins to heal. There are times when I still hold myself to impossible standards, as if failing makes me less worthy to pray. But you remind me that perfection was never the goal, intimacy was. You do not ask for flawless performance. You ask for honesty. You do not demand that I never fall. You ask that I reach for you when I do. You are not counting my mistakes. You are counting the moments I turn back toward you. And that changes everything. Lord, help me to extend to myself the same mercy you so freely give. I can forgive others more easily than I can forgive my own heart. I replay my failures, analyze them, dwell on them, as if punishing myself could somehow make me purer. But you never asked me to be my own judge. You already paid for my freedom. You already declared me redeemed when I insist on carrying shame. I am denying what you have already finished. Let me release it now. Let me breathe again beneath the weightlessness of grace. There is beauty in brokenness. You once showed me because light shines best through cracks. The very flaws I hate about myself become the windows through which your love pours out. My impatience becomes compassion for those still learning patience. My fear becomes empathy for those trembling in silence. My scars become stories that heal others. You waste nothing. Father, you redeem even my weaknesses until they sing of your goodness. God, I want to stop living in the illusion that you only dwell in my strength. You are as present in my stumbles as in my triumphs. You are there when I speak life, and you are there when I need to repent for the words I spoke in haste. You walk with me through the messiness of being human, not as a critic but as a companion. You do not flinch when I fail. You lean closer. You whisper, "Get up, beloved." There is more to this story, and each time you help me rise not because I deserve it, but because love never leaves me fallen. I think now of the morning sunlight that began my prayer hours ago. It has shifted, softened, and now the day is halfway spent. The light no longer blinds. It warms. That is what grace feels like, not a spotlight exposing flaws, but a steady glow reminding me I am still covered, still loved, still growing. It is a patient light that does not rush my transformation. It stays, even when I stumble through shadows. Lord, teach me to extend that same grace outward to those who hurt me, misunderstand me, or fail me. The same mercy I receive must flow through me. Otherwise, it becomes stagnant. Let me be quick to forgive, slow to judge, eager to restore. Let me see others through the same compassionate lens you use on me. For how can I claim to understand grace if I withhold it from those who need it? Sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is the one staring back in the mirror. But today, Father, I choose to forgive that person. I choose to release her from the expectations that perfection demands. I choose to see her as you do, beloved. Imperfect. Still becoming. Because grace is not an excuse to stay the same. It is the power to change without shame. It does not erase my humanity. It redeems it. It reminds me that holiness and humility grow side by side. God, I do not want to spend my life chasing a version of myself that does not exist. I want to be real. I want to be open. I want to walk in the kind of freedom that comes from knowing that nothing, no failure, no flaw, no falling short can separate me from your love. I want to wake each morning aware not of what I must fix, but of what you are already restoring. I want to live each day covered in the awareness that grace is not the end of my journey, it is the atmosphere I move within. And as the afternoon light leans into evening, I carry that awareness with me. The day may not have been perfect, but it has been sacred. Not because I have done everything right, because you have been here through it, all turning my missteps into lessons, my weakness into worship, my humanity into testimony. That is what grace does. It transforms failure into fuel for faith. It reminds me that I do not have to be flawless to be faithful. I just have to keep showing up. Open-hearted, willing to be loved by the God who never leaves. Lord, as I breathe in the calm of grace, I feel you preparing me for something deeper. Peace is easy when everything is still, but true peace, the kind that comes from you must survive the storm. Life never stays gentle for long. The winds rise, the waves crash, and the quiet heart I built in the morning trembles under the weight of the day. Yet, even now, I can sense it. You are not asking me to escape the storm. You are asking me to find you within it. Father, there have been times when I mistook calm circumstances for peace and confusion for chaos. I thought that if everything around me settled, my soul would too. But you keep teaching me that peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of trust. When my world shakes, when the noise grows louder than reason, you remind me that you are the same voice that spoke to the wind and said, "Be still." You did not wait for the storm to end. You spoke into it. That is what you do with me, Lord. You speak peace not around me, but within me. God, I remember the seasons when fear ruled my days, the phone calls that carried bad news, the nights that stretched too long, the mornings heavy with uncertainty. I prayed for deliverance, but what you gave me was endurance. I wanted escape, but you gave me strength. Looking back now, I understand. Peace that depends on perfect conditions is fragile. Peace that is rooted in you is unbreakable. You were not the storm. You were the anchor holding me steady through it. There are moments, even now, when anxiety creeps in quietly, disguised as caution or responsibility. It tells me to prepare for the worst, to control every outcome, to stay ahead of what might go wrong. But your spirit interrupts that spiral, whispering softly, "You are not alone," and that single truth changes everything. I do not have to predict the future when I trust the one who holds it. I do not have to silence every question when I believe in a peace that surpasses understanding. Lord, help me practice that peace today, not the kind that waits for life to calm down, but the kind that keeps breathing when everything spins. Let me learn to stand in the middle of the storm with my eyes fixed on you. When the wind howls, let my soul remember that you have authority over it. When the waves rise, let my faith rise higher. I do not have to fear drowning when I am standing on promises that cannot sink. Father, I think of that night when your disciples panicked in the boat. The waves were real, the fear was real, but so were you, and that made all the difference. They forgot that you were with them, asleep but not absent, silent but still sovereign. How often do I do the same? When life feels unpredictable, I assume you are distant, when in truth, you are right beside me, asking only that I trust. You never promised a life without storms, but you did promise that no storm could separate me from your love. God, I want to carry that truth into every uncertain place. When the world demands panic, Let me answer with prayer. When negativity shouts for my attention, let me whisper your name instead. When I am tempted to run from fear, remind me that you walk on the very waters I am afraid of. The waves that scare me are already under your feet. You do not remove my storms. You redefine them. What once looked like chaos becomes the classroom where peace is perfected. Sometimes, peace is not a feeling. It is a choice. It is waking up each day and deciding to believe that you are still in control. It is speaking faith over feelings, truth over fear, and hope over despair. It is remembering that even the fiercest storm must bow to your will. I do not need to understand the why. I just need to trust the who. And when I do, my soul finds stillness again. Lord, when my heart races with worry, slow me down. When my thoughts spiral toward fear, redirect them to gratitude. Gratitude is the doorway to peace. It shifts my gaze from what is missing to what is present, from what I cannot control to what you have already done. When I remember the past storms you have carried me through, the current ones lose their power. Gratitude turns panic into perspective. I can feel you near me now. Father, not through a loud revelation, but through quiet steadiness, the kind of peace that sits beside pain and refuses to leave, the kind of comfort that does not erase the storm, but fills it with your presence. I realize that peace is not something you give apart from yourself. It is who you are. You are peace. When I seek peace, I am really seeking you. There is a strength that only comes from trusting in you when everything else fails. A deep knowing that no wave can overturn what you have ordained. I can rest not because the world is safe, but because you are sovereign. Even when I lose control, I never lose your covering. Even when I cannot see the end, you are already there, turning chaos into clarity in your time. God, I think of those around me who are in their own storms right now, the ones grieving, waiting, struggling, praying through pain. Let your peace find them too. Let it reach them in the hospital rooms, the sleepless nights, the broken homes, the weary hearts. Let them know they are not forgotten. Use my life, my calm, my words to carry your peace to others. Let me become a vessel that reminds the world, even in the fiercest storm, there is still light, there is still love, there is still you. The day has stretched long now. Outside, the light has begun to soften, and I can feel the quiet that comes before evening. It feels like the world is exhaling after holding its breath. And I, too, exhale. The worries that pressed hard against my heart this morning no longer feel so heavy. They have not vanished, but they have lost their hold. Because peace is not the absence of burden, it is the presence of balance. It is knowing that even when the waves keep coming, I will not be overwhelmed, for my peace is anchored in something eternal. Lord, let me end this day the way I began it with you. Let every storm I face today remind me of your power, not my fear. Let every challenge deepen my dependence, not my despair. And as I rest tonight, let my heart remain anchored in the same truth that carried me through the day. That no matter how fierce the winds become, peace is not something I chase, it is something I carry. Because you dwell within me, and you are enough. Father, as the peace of the storm begins to settle in my heart. Another truth rises quietly to the surface, one that is harder to accept but deeply necessary. It is the truth of time. You move differently than I do. You measure differently. Where I count hours, you count seasons. Where I see delay, you see development. And though my human heart longs for answers now, you keep teaching me that waiting is not a punishment. It is an invitation to trust. Lord, I have often wrestled with your timing. I pray, and then I watch the clock. I expect you to move quickly, to intervene before my patience fades. But you are not governed by urgency the way I am. You are deliberate, intentional, precise. Nothing you do is too early or too late. You work in the quiet spaces between my prayers and their fulfillment, shaping me into the person who can hold the blessing when it arrives. Still, I confess waiting stretches me. It humbles me. It tests every corner of my faith. God, help me to see time the way you see it. When you delay, it is not because you have forgotten me. It is because you are finishing something unseen. You are weaving connections, aligning hearts, preparing opportunities, and strengthening my character. There are days when I want to rush through the process, but you whisper, stay. There is purpose in the pause. The waiting that feels empty is often the most sacred ground, for it is there that trust is born. Father, there have been prayers I thought you ignored, doors that stayed closed so long I stopped knocking. But looking back, I see your mercy in the silence. You spared me from paths I was not ready to walk, from blessings that would have crushed me instead of completing me. I see now that unanswered prayers were sometimes answered in better ways. You are not slow. You are thorough. You are not withholding. You are perfecting. Waiting reveals what I believe about you. It exposes my impatience, my fear of being forgotten, my need for control. And yet, in that space, you are refining me. You teach me that faith is not proven by what I receive, but by how I wait when I receive nothing. It is in those long stretches of uncertainty that trust deepens. Roots strengthen, and love matures. I begin to understand that faith is less about getting my way and more about aligning my heart with yours. Lord, sometimes I envy those who seem to move forward faster, whose lives unfold according to plan while mine feels paused. But you gently remind me that comparison is blindness. Each of us has our own timeline, our own appointed season. The flower that blooms later is not less beautiful, is simply different in purpose. You are the gardener, tending each life with precision, watering one corner while pruning another. My only task is to remain planted, trusting that when the time is right, you will call me into bloom. There is a deep peace that comes when I finally stop trying to rush you. The moment I release my deadlines and surrender to your rhythm, anxiety loses its grip. I no longer wake each day asking, when will it happen? But instead, what are you doing in me while I wait? Because the waiting itself becomes holy. It becomes the ground where dependence grows. It teaches me to rest, to listen, to notice the quiet ways you are already working. Father, Give me a heart that trusts your timing even when the evidence seems delayed. When the clock ticks louder than your voice, remind me that your silence does not mean absence. When progress feels slow, remind me that roots always grow downward before they reach upward. What you are building in me now is not wasted. It is foundation. And when the moment finally comes for what I have prayed for, it will arrive fully formed, overflowing with grace, because you have never rushed a masterpiece. I think of the countless people throughout history who waited: Abraham for his promise, Joseph for his freedom, Hannah for her child, David for his crown. Each of them must have felt forgotten at times, yet not one of them was overlooked. Their stories remind me that waiting with you is never a delay. It is divine timing in disguise. You do not forget. You fulfill. Always, God, help me to hold on to that truth when my patience runs thin. Let me not see waiting as a season of inactivity, but as preparation. Every moment of delay is a chance to deepen intimacy with you, to develop endurance, to learn to love you for who you are rather than for what I expect you to do. Waiting purifies desire. It separates what I want from what I need, what I wish from what truly blesses. You are not teaching me how to wait for things. You are teaching me how to wait with you. Sometimes, Lord, I think about the way morning unfolds. The sun never rushes the dawn. It rises one ray at a time. The light spreads quietly, not in chaos, but in order, until the whole world glows. That is how you work: slow, steady, faithful. I cannot force sunrise, but I can choose to be awake when it comes. I can live ready, expectant, grateful even in the half-light, because the waiting itself is part of the miracle. There have been moments, Father, when I finally received what I once begged you for, and only then did I understand why you took so long. The delay was mercy. The time I thought was wasted was the very time you were preparing me to carry the gift well. It is a humbling truth that your timing is not meant to frustrate me, but protect me. If I could see what you see, I would never rush you again. Lord, let me live today with unhurried faith. Let me breathe without panic, act without fear, and hope without exhaustion. Help me to rest in the knowledge that nothing good slips through your hands. What is meant for me will arrive when I am ready, not when I demand it. Let me find joy in the waiting, purpose in the pause, and gratitude for the process. The sun outside has begun to tilt westward now, the golden light softening into warmth that feels like blessing. I realize that much of life is this moving through seasons of not yet, trusting that what is unfolding is sacred even when it is unseen. My heart is calmer now. The tension between longing and faith has eased into trust. You are never late, Lord. You are never early. You are always exactly on time. And so, I will keep walking, not rushing, not doubting, but resting in the rhythm of your perfect timing. Because while I wait, you are working, and that alone is enough for my soul to be at peace. Lord, as I rest in the peace of your perfect timing, I begin to notice something else stirring quietly within me, the realization that even faith itself ebbs and flows. There are days when I can believe without effort, when hope rises like sunlight and everything in me knows that you are near. But there are also days when faith feels small, fragile, almost hidden beneath the weight of questions. And yet, even in those moments, you remain the same. You are not disappointed by my weakness. You are not threatened by my doubt. You simply stay steady, patient, and kind, waiting for my trembling heart to remember what it already knows, that you are still God, even when my faith is tired. Father, I used to think faith had to feel strong to be real. I thought that if I wavered, you would pull away, but I have learned that faith is not a steady flame. It flickers. It bends with the wind. And yet, as long as it still burns, it is alive. You once said that faith the size of a mustard seed could move mountains. I used to imagine that mountain-shifting faith was bold, loud, unshakable. Now I see it differently. Sometimes, that mountain-moving faith is the quiet decision to pray one more time when nothing has changed. It is the whispered "I trust you" through tears. It is the refusal to let go of your hand, even when my heart feels empty. That is faith too. Lord, help me to honor the smallness of faith, because small faith in a great God is still powerful. You do not measure the worth of my belief by its volume, but by its direction, even when I am unsure. As long as I am turning toward you, that is enough. I no longer need to pretend to be fearless. You can work through trembling hands just as easily as steady ones. You can turn even the smallest seed of trust into something life-changing. There are mornings, Father, when I wake up and everything feels heavy before the day even begins. My prayers come out dry, my spirit weary. I reach for words, but they fall short. On those mornings, I wonder if I have lost something sacred. But you remind me gently that faith is not a feeling, it is a choice. Even in silence, even in fatigue, faith endures when I choose to look toward you instead of away. I do not need fireworks to prove your presence. I just need the quiet courage to keep believing. God, I have watched storms come and go. I have seen seasons of strength and seasons of fragility. Through them all, you have remained faithful. You have never asked for perfection, only for persistence. You do not despise weakness. You meet me there. In fact, you often build my strength from the very places I thought were broken beyond repair. You take the cracks in my faith and fill them with your light until they become the most beautiful parts of my story. There is a strange kind of beauty in vulnerability, is not there, Lord? When I stop pretending that I have it all together, I finally make room for you to hold me. My weakness becomes an invitation for your grace to move freely. I think of Peter, sinking in the waves. His faith failed him for a moment. But you did not let him drown. You reached out immediately. You did not shame him for sinking. You rescued him because he called your name. That is who you are, a God who responds to even the faintest cry of belief. Father, help me to remember that even when faith is quiet, it still speaks. Even when it trembles, it still stands. I want to live with the kind of faith that does not demand constant proof, but rests in the memory of your goodness. The kind that trusts your heart even when I can trace your hand. The kind that says, I do not understand, but I still believe. That kind of faith is not naive, it is courageous. It is the faith that endures through darkness, because it has learned the sound of your voice in the light. Sometimes, Lord, faith feels like holding onto a thread, but even that thread is stronger than I realize, because it is tied to you. It is not the size of my grip that saves me. It is the strength of the one holding the other end. You do not let go. You have never let go. You walk with me through confusion, through exhaustion, through seasons when I feel more question than conviction. You are not waiting for me to climb my way back to certainty. You meet me in the uncertainty. You become my stability when I have none. God, I do not want to be ashamed of the seasons when faith feels small. Let them remind me that dependence is not weakness, it is wisdom. The moments when I reach for you most desperately are the moments when I am most honest. When I stop performing strength, I finally begin to live truthfully. And that is where faith breathes again. I remember times when I almost gave up, when disappointment whispered that maybe prayer did not work, that maybe hope was foolish. But just when I was ready to turn away, something small, a song, a word, a memory rekindled belief. That spark was you. You never let the flame die completely. You protect it even when I cannot. You breathe on it until it glows again, until it warms the parts of me that had gone cold. Father, teach me to nurture that flame, to guard it not with fear, but with gratitude. Let me remember that faith does not always roar. Sometimes it hums quietly beneath the noise of doubt, patient and steadfast. And that is enough. The mountains move not because my belief is flawless, but because you are faithful. My faith may falter, but your promises never do. I want to live today knowing that even when my faith feels small, you are still big enough to carry me. You are not asking me to be unshakable. You are asking me to stay connected. And so I will keep walking, one hesitant step at a time, trusting that each one still leads me closer to you. I will keep praying even when I do not feel inspired, praising even when I do not see results, and believing even when I am afraid. Because faith that endures is not built on sight, it is built on love. As I sit in the quiet of this moment, I feel something rise gently inside me, not confidence in myself, but confidence in you. My heart steadies again. The questions do not vanish, but they lose their sting. The weight does not disappear, but it becomes lighter. That is what your presence does. It turns uncertainty into assurance without changing the circumstance. And I realize now that faith is not about moving mountains out there. It is about moving mountains within. Lord, if this is what it means to walk with you, to trust even when faith feels fragile, then I am willing. Because small faith in your hands still holds eternal power. And as I lift my eyes to face whatever this day brings, I carry that truth with me. I do not need to have perfect faith. I just need to have faith that looks toward you, and that will always be enough. Father, as my heart learns to rest in faith that endures, I begin to understand something deeper, that faith is not meant to remain still within me. It is meant to flow outward, to become love. The more I know you, the more I realize that belief without love is incomplete. You never ask me only to believe in you. You asked me to carry you into the world through the way I love others. Every act of kindness, every word of compassion, every moment of patience is a reflection of you. And today, as the morning light grows softer across my path, I feel you calling me to become a vessel of that love, not in grand gestures, but in simple, steady ways that heal the spaces around me. Lord, I often forget how sacred love truly is. The world uses the word so easily, so lightly, yet the love you call me to live is costly. It requires humility, forgiveness, and a willingness to see others not through my judgment, but through your mercy. It asks me to step beyond comfort, to listen when I want to argue, to give when I would rather hold back, to show grace when I could demand justice. And I confess, Father, that it is not easy. My pride resists, my wounds protest, my heart hesitates. But then I remember, this is the same love that found me when I was unworthy. How could I withhold what I have so freely received? God, help me to love as you love without condition, without fear, without the need for reward. Let my love not be shallow or selective. Let it reach the unseen, the forgotten, the broken. Let it be gentle enough to comfort and strong enough to forgive. I want my life to be a reflection of your compassion, not through my own goodness, but through the overflow of grace that you pour into me each morning. You never ask me to create love from nothing. You simply ask me to give away what you have already placed in my heart. There are people I find difficult to love. Father, the ones who hurt me, misunderstand me, or speak carelessly. Sometimes, loving them feels like lifting a weight too heavy to bear. But then I think of how many times you have carried me through my own failures. How often you have forgiven what I repeated again and again. You never turned away from my weakness. You loved me through it until I was transformed by mercy. That is the pattern of divine love, not to wait for change before embracing, but to love in a way that creates it. Teach me that kind of love, Lord, the love that heals even as it bleeds. Love is not always gentle, God. Sometimes it requires courage. It means standing in the gap for those who have no voice, forgiving when there is no apology, choosing empathy over resentment. It means seeing past behavior to the pain beneath it. I want a love like that to look at others not through the lens of what they have done, but through the possibility of who they can become. Because that is how you have always seen me. You saw potential in the places I only saw failure. You saw worth where I saw shame. And through your gaze, I began to heal. Lord, remind me that love is not weakness. The world teaches that to protect myself, I must harden. But you show me that strength is found in tenderness, that power is found in gentleness, that victory is found in forgiveness. Every time I choose compassion over pride, I become more like you. Every time I choose to bless instead of curse, I reclaim a piece of the world that fear has tried to steal. Love disarms evil not through force, but through grace. It rebuilds what hatred destroys. Father, I want my love to be practical, not distant. Let it show in my words, in my eyes, in the way I pause to listen. Let me be present to those who feel invisible. Let me bring comfort to those weighed down by silence. Let me carry peace into rooms filled with unrest. I do not need to speak perfectly to represent you. I just need to be willing. Use my ordinary life as a channel of extraordinary grace. Use my broken places as bridges for others to find healing. I think of how you, Lord, never rushed the people you loved. You walked among them, listened to their stories, saw their hearts before their faults. That is the kind of love I want to carry patient. Understanding. Unhurried. I want to love the way you pause for the hurting, the way you notice what others overlook, the way you stay even when it would be easier to leave. Teach me to make time for love, even in a world that runs too fast to notice the sacredness of connection. Sometimes, loving others means setting aside my need to be right. It means choosing peace over pride. It means letting grace speak louder than opinion. I confess, Father, that I often mistake love for agreement. But real love does not require sameness, it requires sincerity. It seeks understanding, not dominance. Help me to see that loving someone does not mean compromising truth. It means embodying truth through compassion. God, help me to love myself rightly too, not with vanity, but with gratitude. You created me in your image, and to despise myself is to deny your craftsmanship. Teach me to care for this soul you have entrusted to me, to rest, to forgive myself, to nurture joy, to believe I am worthy of the same kindness I extend to others, because only a heart at peace with itself can love freely. The more I think about love, the more I see that it is both seed and harvest. When I sow it into the world, it grows in me. The act of giving becomes the act of becoming. Every time I choose love, I am transformed, less bitter, more open, more alive. And though love may not always be returned, it never goes wasted. It echoes beyond what I can see, moving quietly through lives, planting hope where despair once lived. Father, let love become my language today. Let it be the way I respond, the way I walk, the way I see. Let it fill my conversations, soften my tone, guide my choices. Let it reach those who least expect it, and those who most need it. Let my life be proof that your love is still alive in this world. And as the morning fades toward afternoon, carry that purpose within me like a quiet flame. The peace you have given now becomes movement. The faith that endured now becomes action. I understand now that every breath, every encounter, every moment is an opportunity to reveal your heart. And so, with hands open and spirit willing, I step into this day ready to love fully, freely, fearlessly, because to love like you is the truest form of worship. Lord, after learning to love as you love, I begin to see how easily the world pulls me away from quietness. The pace of life grows faster every day, demanding attention, draining peace, filling my mind with noise that keeps me from hearing your whisper. Yet you, Father, are never found in the rush. You wait in stillness, in the spaces between thoughts, in the pauses I too often skip. I feel you calling me back there now, reminding me that sacred strength is born not from motion, but from rest. You are teaching me that stillness is not the absence of purpose. It is the presence of you, God. I confess that silence sometimes frightens me. When the world quiets down, my own heart gets loud, my fears echo in the emptiness. My worries take shape, and my mind begins to wander toward every unfinished thing. But you remind me that stillness is not emptiness, it is clarity. It is the moment when all the distractions fade, and only truth remains. In stillness, I see who I am, and I see who you are. That is where faith deepens, where love breathes, where peace finally takes root. Father, teach me to protect sacred silence in a world addicted to noise. I do not want my soul to live on constant alert, chasing the next task, the next opinion, the next reward. Help me slow down enough to notice your fingerprints on ordinary things. The sound of the wind brushing through leaves, the rhythm of my breath, the warmth of sunlight on my skin. These small moments are holy, they anchor me to your presence. You are not only in the grand and miraculous, you are in the quiet, the ordinary, the in-between. There was a time, Lord, when I thought productivity defined worth. I measured my days by how much I accomplished, how much I gave, how much I moved. But you are showing me a different rhythm, the rhythm of grace. In your design, rest is not failure, it is faith. When I stop striving and sit in silence, I am declaring that I trust you enough to pause. I am saying, you are still working, even when I am not. That kind of trust reshapes my soul. God, I realize how much I have mistaken business for significance. The world rewards constant motion, but you call me to something deeper. You call me to still waters, not to prove my value, but to remember it. When I rest in you, I remember that I am already loved, already chosen, already enough. I do not need to perform for your affection. I simply need to be still and know that knowing quiets every storm that pride or fear has created. Father, help me practice the art of being fully present. When I sit with someone, let me truly listen. When I walk, let me notice the beauty around me instead of rushing past it. When I pray, let me linger long enough to hear the gentle answers you place in my heart. I do not want to fill silence with unnecessary words. I want to learn to listen, because it is in listening that I begin to understand your language. There is a calm you give, Lord, that no circumstance can imitate. It is the peace that meets me not when problems disappear, but when I finally stop fighting the moment. It is the peace that comes from surrender. From saying, this is enough, you are enough. I feel it now, the slow unwinding of anxiety, the quiet easing of tension. It is as if you are placing a hand on my shoulder, telling me that I do not have to earn every breath. You are already here, in this very one. God, remind me that stillness does not mean inactivity. It means alignment. It is the moment before movement, when the heart syncs with your rhythm, and steps begin to follow your direction instead of my own. Without stillness, my efforts scatter. With it, they flow with purpose. Teach me to pause, not only to rest, but to receive instruction, to discern which path is yours. For I have learned that not every open door is meant to be walked through, and not every opportunity is divine. Stillness helps me know the difference. Lord, when I am overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility, remind me of Jesus retreating to lonely places to pray. Even he, carrying the world's redemption, sought solitude. How much more do I need it? Let me learn from his example, to serve from overflow, not exhaustion, to speak from stillness, not from noise. I do not want to live as a vessel constantly pouring until empty. I want to draw from the well of your peace daily, so that everything I give comes from abundance, not depletion. Father, in stillness I find humility. I am reminded that the world continues turning without my control, that my worth is not tied to what I manage to achieve. I see how you sustain everything from the smallest seed to the spinning galaxies without strain. You are the calm beneath all movement. And when I pause long enough to sense that truth, my restless striving dissolves into gratitude. Sometimes, God, I resist stillness because it exposes truth. It reveals the things I have tried to hide under noise, unforgiveness, fear, comparison. Yet you meet me there without condemnation. You uncover not to shame but to heal. In your quiet presence, the walls I have built begin to crumble, and freedom seeps in. The silence becomes a sanctuary, not a threat. I begin to see that the absence of noise is not loneliness, it is intimacy with you. Teach me, Lord, to weave stillness into every day, not as an escape, but as communion. Even in the midst of a crowded schedule, let me find inner quiet, the space where my spirit can breathe. Let me work without hurry, speak without haste, and move without losing awareness of you. Because when I carry stillness inside, the world's chaos can control me. Father, in the hush of this morning, I feel the truth of your promise, that those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. Waiting is not passive, it is sacred preparation. In waiting, I learn patience. In silence, I rediscover trust. In stillness, I remember who you are, and that remembrance changes everything. As I prepare to step into the day, I want to take this calm with me not as a moment to return to, but as a way of living. Let my decisions be born from quiet conviction, not reaction. Let my words carry the gentleness that grows from inner peace. Let my actions reflect a heart grounded in your rhythm. I no longer need to chase meaning in noise, because I have found it in you, in this still, sacred presence that fills every breath. Lord, help me carry this stillness into the noise of the world today, not to escape it but to transform it. Let my calm become contagious. Let my peace soften hurried hearts. Let my quiet trust remind others that it is possible to live differently, to move without anxiety, to work without fear, to rest without guilt. Because when the heart rests in you, silence is no longer empty. It is full of life. And as I rise from this moment of prayer, I feel ready, not rushed, but renewed. The world may shout, but I will walk softly, anchored in the stillness that you have taught me to guard. Each step today will be its own quiet prayer. Each breath a reminder that peace is not something I chase, it is someone I carry. Father, as I carry the stillness you have taught me into a restless world, I realize that calmness does not mean clarity. Even when my spirit is quiet, the path ahead is often hidden. I do not always see where the next step leads, and sometimes that uncertainty stirs fear again. But you remind me that faith was never about knowing, it was always about trusting. Stillness prepared my heart. Now trust must guide my steps. And so I come to you, not asking for every answer, but for courage to walk when the way is dim. Lord, life rarely unfolds the way I imagine. Plans shift, doors close, and what once felt certain suddenly unravels. There are moments when I question whether I have taken a wrong turn or missed a sign. But even in those moments, you are not lost. You are the same unchanging presence, standing just beyond my understanding, calling me forward one step at a time. You do not demand that I run ahead. You only ask that I walk with you. And that, Father, is enough. God, I admit how deeply I crave control. I like to map out every possibility, to guard against disappointment, to predict outcomes so I can protect my heart. Yet every time I try to take over, peace slips through my fingers. You keep inviting me back into surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of trust. When I finally let go of what I cannot control, I find that I am not falling. I am being carried. That is the paradox of faith. Letting go is not losing security, it is finding it. Sometimes, Father, uncertainty feels like darkness. The familiar landmarks disappear, and I can no longer rely on what used to guide me. But even then, you are the gentle light ahead. You do not blind me with revelation. You illuminate just enough for the next step. And in that faint glow, I discover something sacred, that trust grows best in shadows, where sight fails and the soul must listen instead. In those quiet moments, my dependence on you deepens, and fear slowly turns into confidence. Lord, you have never promised a path free of confusion. You have only promised your presence in the midst of it. And I am learning that your presence is better than answers. Answers satisfy curiosity, but presence satisfies the soul. When you are near, I can face the unknown without panic. I do not need to understand everything. I only need to know that you walk beside me. Every breath becomes lighter when I remember that truth. There are seasons, God, when waiting feels endless, when I pray and hear nothing, when I knock and no door opens. Those are the moments that test my faith the most. Yet, even then, something beautiful happens beneath the silence. You are shaping patience, carving trust, deepening endurance. You are preparing blessings I cannot yet see. The silence is not punishment. It is preparation. And while my human heart longs for clarity, you are gently teaching me that delayed answers often protect me from premature decisions. Father, remind me of all the times you have led me through uncertainty before. I think of the closed doors that later made sense, the disappointments that became redirection, the losses that turned into healing. Each moment that once felt like abandonment was actually guidance. You have never failed me, not once. Every detour carried a lesson. Every delay refined my faith. Help me remember that the same hand that led me then is leading me now. Sometimes, Lord, I look at the road ahead and see fog. It frightens me. I want to know what lies beyond the turn, what waits beyond the next hill. But you whisper that the fog is mercy. It forces me to slow down, to stay near, to match your pace. If I could see too far ahead, I would rush ahead of you and lose intimacy. The unknown keeps me dependent, and dependence keeps me close. So I will walk slowly, trusting that even the fog is part of your design. God, I do not want my faith to depend on stability. I want it to thrive in uncertainty. I want to learn to worship not because I understand, but because I trust. To praise not because everything is clear, but because you are still good. Even when my plans crumble, your promises stand. Even when the path bends unexpectedly, your character does not change. You are the same yesterday, today, and forever. That truth anchors me when nothing else makes sense. Father, you know the tension in my heart, the longing to move forward, the fear of stepping wrong, but you remind me that I cannot truly misstep if I walk with you. Even when I wander, you can redirect. Even when I stumble, you can steady. You turn mistakes into lessons and obstacles into growth. You waste nothing. Every path, even the confusing ones, still lead toward grace when I allow you to lead. There is a quiet freedom in that realization. Lord, I no longer have to chase certainty. I can live open-handed, knowing that I am guided not by perfect plans, but by perfect love. I can release the need to have everything figured out, and simply walk in rhythm with your will. Trust does not mean passivity, it means partnership. It means I show up, I move forward. I listen, and I adjust as you guide. And that, in itself, is holy. Father, teach me to see uncertainty as invitation, not interruption. Each unknown is a doorway to deeper dependence. Each detour is an opportunity to find you in a new way. When fear whispers that I am lost, let your spirit remind me that I am being led. When doubt tempts me to stop, let your peace nudge me to keep walking. For every valley I enter, you have already walked before me. Sometimes, I forget that trust is not built overnight. It grows like a tree slowly, quietly, through seasons of drought and storm. Its roots sink deeper only when winds shake its branches. So when my world trembles, help me not to panic. Let me see the shaking as strength training for my faith. Let me remember that what looks like instability is often the making of endurance. Lord, the world around me chases guarantees, but you invite me into mystery. And in that mystery, I find something far more beautiful than certainty. I find intimacy. Because when I cannot see, I must cling. When I cannot plan, I must listen. And when I cannot control, I must rest. Each surrender becomes a new form of worship. Father, I trust that the path I cannot see is still leading to goodness. Because you are goodness, I may not understand the why, but I trust the who. You are not hiding the future to torment me. You are holding it to protect me. So I choose trust again today, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet trust that breathes deep and whispers, "You know the way," and that is enough. As the morning unfolds, I lift my eyes toward the horizon. The path ahead remains unclear, but peace remains constant. You have taught me that faith does not need to see far, it only needs to see you. And in the glow of this new day, I choose to walk into uncertainty with steady heart and open hands, knowing that every step taken in trust is already a step toward home. Father, as I keep walking through the uncertain paths you have set before me, I feel how often the weight I carry comes not from what lies ahead, but from what lies behind. I find myself haunted by words that wounded me, by mistakes that I wish I could undo, by disappointments that cling like shadows to my soul. The future feels heavy when the past still binds me. And in this quiet morning light, I realize that freedom cannot be fully lived without forgiveness, both giving it and receiving it. So I bring this burden to you, Lord, not asking for it to be erased, but for my heart to be softened enough to release it. God, you know the corners of my heart that still ache. There are names, faces, and moments that still stir pain when I think of them. Sometimes I tell myself I have forgiven, but the bitterness returns like a whisper I can silence. I see now that forgiveness is not a single act. It is a daily choice to stop carrying what was never mine to hold. When I refuse to forgive, I stay chained to the very thing that hurt me. But when I let go, I do not free the other person. I free myself. You showed that truth on the cross, when forgiveness became the language of love stronger than pain. Father, I admit that forgiveness feels unfair. The mind argues that some wrongs are too deep, too cruel, too undeserved to release. Yet when I look at your mercy toward me, I see no measure, no condition, no exception. You did not wait for me to deserve grace. You gave it because it is who you are. And if I claim to follow you, I must learn to do the same. Teach me to forgive not because they apologized, not because they changed, but because I cannot live with peace while my heart remains a battlefield. Forgiveness is not excusing the wrong, it is choosing peace over poison. Lord, help me remember that forgiveness is not weakness. It is courage. It takes strength to face the wound, to name it, and to decide it will no longer define me. I do not want my story to be shaped by bitterness. I want it to be shaped by grace. Every time I choose forgiveness, I reclaim a part of myself that pain tried to steal. It does not mean I forget. It means I remember differently. I see the scar, but not the shame. I see the lesson, not the loss. And through that, healing begins to breathe again. There are also times, Father, when the hardest person to forgive is myself. I replay old failures like broken records, things I said in anger, opportunities I ignored, people I hurt out of fear or pride. You have forgiven me, but I keep reliving what you have already redeemed. Help me to stop holding myself hostage to the past. Let me believe that when you said it is finished, you meant even the mistakes that I cannot stop regretting. Teach me to extend to myself the same compassion I give to others, because refusing grace for myself is still another form of pride. God, I know that forgiveness is a process, not a performance. Some wounds take time to heal, and you do not rush that work. But each morning is an invitation to begin again. As the sun rises, you whisper, "Today you can release it a little more." And I want to answer that call not perfectly, but honestly. Some days the release will be gentle. Other days it will ache. But I trust that each surrender brings me closer to freedom. Lord, help me to forgive even when it feels undeserved. Let me remember that every human soul carries its own unseen struggles. Sometimes people hurt out of fear, ignorance, or brokenness they do not understand. I have done the same. When I look at others through the lens of your compassion, I begin to see that most cruelty comes from pain, not evil. That realization does not erase the wound, but it makes empathy possible. And empathy is the soil where forgiveness grows. Father, when anger tries to return, help me remember that forgiveness does not mean re-entry into toxicity. It is not pretending that everything is fine. It is choosing to release resentment without returning to harm. It is setting boundaries that honor peace without fueling hate. Teach me to balance grace with wisdom, to forgive fully, but to walk wisely. You are both mercy and truth, and I want my heart to reflect both. There is a quiet miracle that happens, God, when forgiveness takes root. The heart that once felt heavy begins to feel light again. The memories that once burned begin to soften. The pain that once ruled begins to fade into peace. I begin to breathe differently. The same people or moments once held me captive become reminders of how far I have come. And suddenly, I understand that forgiveness is not just a gift I give to others, it is a form of healing you give to me. Lord, sometimes I wonder what life would look like if everyone chose forgiveness as their first language. There would still be hurt, but there would also be hope. We would argue less and listen more. We would see each other not as enemies to defeat, but as souls to understand. Forgiveness would become the bridge over every divide. Maybe that is what you meant when you called us to love our enemies, to see their humanity even when they forget ours. I want to live like that. I want to be a peacemaker, not a scorekeeper. Father, as I learn to forgive, teach me also to ask for forgiveness when I am the one who is wrong. Give me humility to face those I have hurt and honesty to make things right. Let me not defend my pride at the cost of peace. Reconciliation begins with responsibility, and I want to be brave enough to take it. Let my apologies be sincere, not strategic. Let them come from a heart that values healing over winning. God, I know that true forgiveness can't exist without love. Only love makes it possible to let go and bless where there was once bitterness. Only love allows me to wish good for those who wounded me. Only love transforms pain into purpose. And only through your Spirit can such love exist. So fill me again with that divine compassion that defies logic, that heals what reason cannot, that brings light where resentment once lived. Lord, I release to you every name that lingers in my heart, every face that stirs unease, every wound that still whispers of injustice. Take them, heal them, redeem them, and if those same people ever need mercy, let me be strong enough to give it, because I know what it feels like to need it too. Father, as I rise into this day, I carry no grudge, no bitterness, no weight that steals my peace. I may still feel the ache, but it no longer controls me. Forgiveness has opened my hands, and now they are free to receive joy again. The morning feels lighter, and so does my soul. I walk forward knowing that letting go does not mean losing, it means gaining space for grace to live. And in that quiet space of freedom, I find you waiting, smiling, whispering that love always wins when forgiveness leads the way. Lord, after the gentle release that forgiveness brought, I feel an emptiness inside a quiet space that once held resentment and now waits to be filled. And in that silence, I hear you whisper one simple word: gratitude. It feels like sunlight pouring into a room that has just been cleaned, a light that reveals beauty where dust once gathered. Gratitude does not erase the pain of what has been lost, but it gives meaning to what remains. It is the song that grows from the soil of surrender, the melody that turns ordinary days into sacred gifts. Father, I confess that gratitude does not come naturally to me. My heart often measures blessings by comfort, and when comfort fades, so does my thankfulness. I look for what is missing instead of seeing what is still here. But you are teaching me that gratitude is not a reaction. It is a decision. It is choosing to see grace even in what hurts, to find beauty even in what feels broken. Gratitude is not blindness to struggle, it is awareness of goodness in the middle of it. It is remembering that even in pain, you are still present, still providing, still guiding. God, there are mornings when I wake and my mind runs ahead to all that needs fixing. But when I pause and look around, I see evidence of your kindness everywhere. The air filling my lungs, the steady rhythm of my heart, the quiet warmth of sunlight creeping across the floor. These are miracles I overlook too easily. Every breath is a gift wrapped in mercy. Every moment of awareness is proof that you are not done with me yet. Gratitude begins when I stop assuming and start noticing. Lord, I want to learn to thank you not only for what brings joy, but also for what stretches me. For the unanswered prayers that kept me dependent. For the disappointments that redirected me. For the losses that made me compassionate. Each one carried a hidden blessing disguised as difficulty. Gratitude opens my eyes to see that you never waste pain. What I once called hardship now becomes evidence of your faithfulness. It takes time to see that, but when I do, I realize how every chapter, pleasant or painful, has been written with purpose. Father, help me cultivate gratitude not as an occasional feeling, but as a rhythm of life. Let it become the pulse of my heart, steady and quiet, beating beneath every circumstance. When days are bright, let gratitude remind me not to take joy for granted. When nights are long, let it remind me that hope still flickers somewhere unseen. Gratitude is not about denying sorrow. It is about discovering that joy and sorrow can coexist. That one can deepen the other. There was a time, Lord, when I thought gratitude depended on abundance. But now I see it grows strongest in scarcity. When I have less, I notice more. When I am weak, I feel grace more clearly. The smallest blessings become treasures, the taste of warm bread, the sound of laughter, the touch of a hand that stays when the world feels cold. These small, fleeting things are where your love hides most tenderly. Gratitude pulls me back to the present, where grace always waits. God. Sometimes gratitude feels difficult because the world encourages comparison. I see others with more, with easier paths, with stories that seem smoother than mine. But you remind me that comparison is the thief of wonder. You did not create my journey to match another S. Each path has its own grace, its own timing, its own beauty. Gratitude helps me stop looking sideways and start looking up to see you, the giver of all things good, who knows exactly what I need and when. Lord, I want to thank you for the people who remain even when life changes, for the voices that encourage when silence feels heavy, for the hands that hold when fear tightens its grip. Each relationship is a thread in the tapestry of grace you are weaving around me. Even those who hurt me taught lessons that shaped compassion in my heart. Gratitude allows me to honor every person as part of the story that is still unfolding. Father, when life feels uncertain, gratitude becomes my anchor. It reminds me that not everything is falling apart. Some things are simply falling into place. It keeps my heart from collapsing under the weight of what if. It steadies my gaze on what is, instead of what might be. Gratitude is the bridge between chaos and peace, between complaint and contentment. It does not change circumstances, but it transforms perspective. It turns fear into faith and scarcity into sufficiency. God, let me not reserve gratitude only for miracles that make headlines. Let me find you in the unnoticed, in the quiet resilience that gets me through another day, in the laughter that bubbles up despite exhaustion, in the gentle resilience that refuses to give up. You are in the unseen acts of grace that surround me, the patience of those who forgive, the endurance that carries me when I have none left. Gratitude gives these moments voice, reminding me that even when the world feels ordinary, you are doing extraordinary things. Lord, I want gratitude to shape not only my thoughts but my actions. Let my thankfulness spill into kindness. Let it translate into generosity, compassion, and gentler words. Because true gratitude does not stop at feeling, it transforms how I live. When I appreciate what I have been given, I stop grasping for what I lack. When I recognize your abundance, I begin to share freely. Gratitude becomes love in motion. Father, there are seasons when gratitude feels like work, when grief dulls joy, when fatigue blurs hope, when nothing seems worthy of thanks. In those times, remind me that gratitude is not pretending everything is fine. It is choosing to believe that good still exists, even when I cannot see it. Let me whisper thankfulness not out of denial, but out of trust that even in the valley, you are planting seeds that will one day bloom. God, I see now that gratitude is the language of eternity. In heaven, there will be no striving, no worry, no lack, only endless awe for your goodness. So when I practice gratitude here, I am already learning the language of heaven. I am tuning my heart to eternity's rhythm, one thank you at a time. Lord, thank you for the strength that carried me this far, for the lessons that shaped my heart, for the beauty I did not earn but still get to witness. Thank you for another morning, Another breath, another chance to notice your fingerprints on everything. Gratitude may begin as a whisper, but it grows into a song that no darkness can silence. And as I step into the day ahead, may that song continue playing quietly in my soul, turning every moment, every challenge, every heartbeat into worship disguised as gratitude. Father, as gratitude settles deeper into my heart, I begin to see another truth rising quietly beneath, the truth that strength is not the absence of weakness, but the transformation of it. For so long, I tried to appear unshaken, to hold myself together even when everything inside me was unraveling. I thought faith meant never falling, never breaking. But now I understand that you do not despise weakness. You meet me in it. You work through it. You shape me in the places where I feel most fragile. Lord, when I look back on my journey, I realize that the moments that changed me most were not the ones when I felt powerful, but when I felt helpless. It was when I had nothing left to offer that you showed me how strong your grace truly is. When I reached the end of my own ability, you carried me further than I could have ever walked alone. You turned exhaustion into endurance, despair into resilience, and shame into testimony. What I once saw as failure was really the doorway through which your power entered. God, I often resist weakness because it feels like defeat. It bruises my pride and exposes the parts of me I try hardest to hide. Yet, in your wisdom, you remind me that humility is the soil of strength. When I admit my need, I create room for your presence. When I confess my limits, I open space for your limitless grace. The world tells me to hide my frailty. You tell me to bring it into the light, because what I bring to you in honesty, you transform with mercy. Father, I think about the way storms bend trees without breaking them. Their roots grow deeper in resistance, their trunks stronger after every wind. My soul is like that, too. Each trial bends me. But when I cling to you, I do not snap. The bending becomes a kind of worship, a declaration that I am still standing not because I am strong, but because you are. It is strange, Lord, how weakness, when surrendered, becomes its own kind of strength. Sometimes, Lord, I forget that you never asked me to impress you. You asked me to trust you. You never demanded perfection. You invited participation. You never promised that life would be easy. But you promised that your grace would be sufficient. I hold on to those words because there are days when even breathing feels like work. On those days, your strength becomes the air I inhale, the calm within the storm. You do not always remove the struggle, but you give me enough strength for each step through it. God, teach me to see weakness as invitation, not interruption. It invites me to depend, to draw near, to surrender control. It strips away illusions of self-sufficiency and reminds me that my worth is not measured by productivity or perfection. When I am weak, I am reminded that my strength was never meant to be my own. You are the source, the well that never runs dry, the quiet force that holds me when I cannot hold myself. Father, there are times when I envy those who seem unshakable, those who walk with confidence, whose faith looks steady, whose lives seem effortless. but you remind me that every heart carries battles unseen. Even the strongest among us bleed somewhere. Strength is not loud. It is often silent. It is the quiet decision to rise again when no one is watching. The whispered prayer at midnight when no one else hears. You see those moments, Lord, and you call them victory. Sometimes, Lord, weakness reveals what success never could. It teaches compassion. It humbles arrogance. It builds empathy for others who struggle. The pain I once resented becomes the bridge that connects me to others who are hurting. You use my wounds to comfort those with similar scars. My story becomes proof that brokenness can be redeemed, that cracks in the vessel only make the light shine brighter. God, I thank you that your strength is not a distant force, but a presence that lives within me. It does not roar. It whispers. It does not demand. It sustains. Your strength does not always look like victory. It often looks like endurance, like quiet perseverance, like peace in chaos. It is the unseen grace that helps me take another step when the world expects me to collapse. It is the power that flows through surrender, not resistance. Lord, I often pray for you to make me strong, but now I see that you already have, just not in the way I imagined. True strength is not armor that keeps pain out. It is the resilience that lets love stay soft even after pain has entered. True strength is not the absence of tears. It is the courage to keep believing while they fall. True strength is not winning every battle. It is choosing faith when everything seems lost. Father, let my weakness become the testimony of your glory. Let people see that my strength is borrowed, my peace is gifted, my endurance is divine. Let them see that every time I rise, it is because your hand has lifted me, and when I fall again, remind me that you are not disappointed, you are already reaching down. You are not counting failures. You are counting returns. Every time I come back to you, you call it progress, not shame. God, help me to stop despising the seasons when I feel weak. Help me see them as sacred classrooms where dependence becomes devotion. Let my vulnerability become a space where you dwell, not a flaw to hide. If my weakness draws me closer to you, then let me never wish it away. I would rather limp beside you than run without you. Lord, I want to carry this truth into every part of my day. I am not enough on my own, but I am never alone. When my strength falters, yours begins. When my faith trembles, yours holds steady. When my hope wanes, yours renews. There is no weakness that can disqualify me from your love, no exhaustion that can outlast your patience. You meet me right where I am tired, flawed, imperfect, and you call me beloved still. Father, in this quiet morning, I surrender again. I give you the parts of me that feel weary, the dreams that feel delayed, the confidence that feels thin. I trade them for your strength, for your steady presence, for the peace that surpasses understanding. Let my heart rest in knowing that I do not have to carry everything. I only have to stay close to you. And as the day unfolds, may my weakness become the window through which your light shines brightest. May I move with the quiet confidence that even when I feel empty, you are still full. Even when I falter, you are still faithful. Even when I am weak, you are still enough. That is the mystery of grace, that strength is not found in my striving, but in your steadfast love holding me through it all. Father, as I sit quietly with the truth of weakness and grace, I begin to realize how much of my journey with you is marked by waiting. It is not the waiting for small things, lines to move, seasons to shift, but the deeper waiting that tests the soul. The waiting for prayers to be answered, for doors to open, for wounds to heal, for purpose to unfold. Waiting can feel like standing in fog, unable to see if anything is moving at all, yet you remind me that even in stillness, you are working. What looks like silence is often the sound of your hands shaping something unseen. Lord, I have not always waited well. I confess that my impatience often drowns out my trust. When time stretches too long, I start to question whether you have forgotten me. I compare my path to others, wondering why their breakthroughs seem to come sooner, their blessings more visible. But you teach me that faith is not proven when answers come quickly. It is proven in the waiting. Patience is not passive, it is active trust. It is believing that delay is not denial, that silence is not absence, and that every second of waiting is being woven into something meaningful. God, I remember times when I tried to force what was not yet ready. I pushed doors that you had gently closed. I hurried plans that needed time to mature, and each time, my striving led only to exhaustion. You never shamed me for it, but you lovingly drew me back into stillness. You whispered, "Let me work." It is not easy for me to surrender control, but the longer I walk with you, the more I understand that your timing is not cruelty, is protection. You delay not to withhold good things, but to prepare my heart to receive them. Father, waiting reveals what I truly believe about you. It exposes whether I trust your character more than my calendar. When everything moves fast, I praise easily. But when things stall, when progress hides behind quiet days, that is when true faith begins to form. I am learning that trust is not built in miracles, but in the mundane, in the slow mornings, where nothing seems to change. Yet you remain faithful still. Lord, I often imagine that waiting is wasted time, but you show me that it is sacred time. You use it to refine motives, deepen endurance, and stretch faith beyond comfort. Waiting purifies desire, it strips away what is shallow until all that is left is what truly matters. It transforms prayers from "I want this now" to "I want what you want." In that transformation, my will slowly aligns with yours, and peace begins to replace restlessness. God, there is a rhythm to your timing that I am still learning to trust. You move like the seasons, slow, deliberate, and perfectly balanced. Spring does not rush into bloom before the frost melts. The sunrise does not skip the dawn. So why should I fear delay when you are the keeper of all time? If you make the stars rise on schedule and the tide return at the appointed hour, surely you can be trusted with the timing of my life. You are never late, never early, always right on time. Father, in the waiting, I have come to realize that patience is not about stillness of hands, but stillness of heart. It is choosing to remain steady when emotions fluctuate, to stay rooted when circumstances sway. I can move through the day without anxiety when my heart rests in you. Waiting is not about doing nothing, it is about doing the right thing. Trusting, praying, serving, and hoping even when results are invisible. Lord, when I grow weary of waiting, remind me of the times you came through in ways I never expected. The moments when, just as I thought nothing would change, a small sign appeared, a word, a person, a provision. Those were reminders that you never stopped working. You were just preparing the soil for fruit that lasts. Let me never forget that patience is not a punishment, but a process through which blessings ripen. God, I think of the seed buried in the earth. It sits hidden, pressed into darkness, surrounded by silence. To the unknowing eye, it looks like nothing is happening. But deep below, transformation is taking place. Roots are forming. Strength is building. Life is awakening. Waiting feels like that sometimes, buried, unseen, unsure. Yet in those hidden seasons, you are developing something stronger in me than visible success ever could. You are growing roots that storms cannot uproot. Father, help me to embrace the wait, even when I do not understand it. Teach me to measure time not by clocks or calendars, but by growth. Let every delay become an opportunity to trust you more deeply, to depend less on my understanding, and to dwell longer in your presence. I do not want to merely wait for outcomes. I want to wait with you. Waiting in your company turns delay into devotion. Lord, when impatience whispers that you have forgotten, let your spirit remind me that you are near. You are never indifferent to my prayers. You hold every word I have spoken, every tear I have shed, every sigh I have released. You have not overlooked a single detail. My waiting is not ignored, it is being written into a greater story that I cannot yet see. And when the right time comes, everything will unfold not by coincidence, but by design. God, I pray for the grace to live well in the in-between, the space between asking and receiving, between hope and fulfillment. Let me not waste these hours with worry, but fill them with worship. Let me find beauty in the becoming, joy in the journey, and peace in the pause. For even the waiting seasons are gifts wrapped in mystery. Father, I surrender my timeline to you. I lay down my expectations and pick up trust instead. I may not understand the pace of your plan, but I know the heart of the one who holds it. You are not slow as I define slowness. You are intentional. Every delay carries purpose. Every pause prepares something good. And as this morning unfolds, I choose to wait not with fear, but with faith. I choose to rest in the assurance that you are not finished, that the unseen is still being written, that your promises never fail. Waiting is no longer the place I dread, it is the place where I meet you most deeply, because it is here, in this sacred stillness, that my restless heart finally learns to trust not just your answers, but you yourself. Lord, as I rest in the quiet strength that comes from waiting on you, I sense how fragile peace can feel in a world that never stops moving. Even after moments of stillness, the noise creeps back in, the worries, the deadlines, the voices that tell me to hurry, to prove, to control. But you, Father, keep whispering something different. You invite me not to chase peace if it is somewhere outside of me, but to carry it within. You remind me that peace is not found in perfect circumstances. It is found in your presence that never changes, even when everything else does. Father, I have spent so much of my life mistaking calm for peace. I thought if I could just fix everything, solve every problem. Please, everyone, eliminate every fear, then I would finally be free. But peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of trust. It is the steady heartbeat of faith beneath the surface of chaos. It is knowing that even when the storm is raging, I am still anchored in you. You are not the silence after the storm. You are the calm within it. God, the world I live in often feels like a sea of unrest. Everywhere I turn, people are running, grasping, fearing, arguing. I see anxiety written across faces, exhaustion behind smiles, restlessness in eyes that no longer look up. And sometimes, that same restlessness finds me too. My mind spins with what-ifs, my heart races with uncertainties. Yet even in that chaos, you remind me that your peace is not fragile, it is unshakable, unchanging, undefeated. It flows like a river beneath the noise, waiting for me to step into its current. Lord, teach me to protect that peace. The world will always give me reasons to lose its disappointment. Misunderstanding, rejection, delay, but none of those things can take what you have planted unless I give it away. Help me guard my heart against the thief of worry. When fear knocks, let faith answer. When anger rises, let love breathe first. When I am tempted to fight battles that are not mine, remind me that peace is the weapon of the wise. It is not weakness to walk away from chaos. It is strength to choose stillness when noise demands reaction. Father, your Son once stood in the middle of a storm and spoke only 3 words: peace, be still, and creation obeyed. That same voice now speaks to my soul. The same authority that calmed the sea lives within me. So why should I let waves define my faith when the master of winds lives in my heart? Teach me to listen for that still voice more than the loud waves. Let me remember that the power to silence storms begins not outside me, but within the space where you and I meet. God, sometimes the chaos does not come from outside, it comes from within. My thoughts collide, my emotions compete, and my spirit grows weary trying to make sense of it all. But you invite me to unclench my mind, to stop rehearsing the how and when, and to simply breathe. Peace begins with a breath, because every breath is proof that you are still sustaining me. Inhale trust. Exhale fear. Inhale grace. Exhale control. This rhythm becomes prayer without words, a sacred surrender that steadies my heart again. Lord, remind me that peace does not always mean quietness. Sometimes it moves like strength in motion, a calm courage that keeps walking even when the path is uncertain. It is the assurance that I can be surrounded by noise and still carry silence within. It is knowing that I can face conflict without letting it claim my heart. You did not promise a life free from storms, but you did promise a heart free from fear. That is the gift of peace you left with us, not temporary comfort, but eternal stability. Father, when I lose my peace, it is usually because I have shifted my focus. I look too long at the waves and not enough at you. I listen too much to opinions and too little to truth. Bring my gaze back to where it belongs. When my mind spirals toward what I can control, remind me of what I can. To love, to forgive, to pray, to rest. You never told me to fix the whole world. You told me to trust the one who already has. God, let me be a vessel of peace wherever I go. Let my presence carry stillness into busy rooms, patience into heated moments, gentleness into heavy spaces. Let people feel your calm when they are near me, not because I am perfect, but because I am rooted in you. Teach me that peace is not something I hoard, but something I share. The world is desperate for calm hearts that listen, for gentle souls who choose grace over reaction. Make me one of them. Lord, I know peace takes practice. It is not something that magically appears. It is something that grows every time I choose faith over fear. Each time I refuse to let anger define my response. Each time I pause before speaking. Each time I surrender what I cannot change, that is peace being built within me. Little by little, moment by moment, you are turning anxiety into assurance. You are teaching my soul the rhythm of heaven, where rest is not an escape, but a way of being. Father, help me bring this peace into my relationships. When conflict arises, let my first instinct be compassion. When misunderstandings happen, let humility guide my words. When tension builds, let me remember that reconciliation begins with calm hearts. I do not want to win arguments. I want to win back connection. I want my peace to heal, not to divide. Because true peace is not selfish, seeks the well-being of others too. God, I also want peace within my own story. For too long, I have fought against myself, ashamed of what I am not, afraid of who I might become. But you whisper that peace begins with acceptance. I can be at peace with the world if I am at war with my own soul. Teach me to embrace my flaws as places where your grace lives. Teach me to see myself through your eyes, not through the lens of failure or fear. When I make peace with who I am, I make room for who I am becoming. Lord, I long for the kind of peace that does not crumble under pressure, but the peace that remains when losses come, when news hurts, when the future looks uncertain. I want the peace that is not shaken by circumstance, but shaped by conviction. That kind of peace only comes from you. It is not learned from books or achieved by discipline. It is born through communion, through walking daily in your presence. Father, as the morning continues to unfold, I rest in this truth. Peace is not something I wait to feel. It is something I choose to live. Even when chaos surrounds me, I can stand firm because you are near. You are the still point in my spinning world, the quiet heartbeat in my chest, the unmovable center of all my storms. The world may roar, but my soul can remain untroubled because it knows this one eternal truth: where you dwell, peace will always follow. Father, as peace begins to root itself more deeply in my soul, I realize that peace alone is not the destination, it is preparation. You quiet my heart so I can finally hear what been whispering all along, that I am here for a reason greater than myself. You did not breathe life into me just to survive another day. You placed me here to live with purpose, to walk in obedience, to become an instrument of your love in a world that has forgotten how to listen. Peace steadies my steps, but purpose gives them direction. And so, Lord, I come before you asking not for comfort, but for clarity. Show me what you would have me do with this one fragile, beautiful life. God, so often I have confused purpose with performance. I have chased titles, achievements, and approval, thinking that success would somehow validate my worth. But you gently dismantle that illusion. You remind me that purpose is not found in applause, but in alignment. It is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters most. You are not impressed by my accomplishments. You are moved by my obedience. When my heart beats in rhythm with yours, even the smallest act, an encouraging word, a quiet prayer, a simple kindness becomes holy work. Lord, teach me to listen for your calling, not in the noise of ambition, but in the stillness of devotion. I do not want to run ahead of you or lag behind. I want to walk beside you, hearing each instruction as it comes. So many times, I have asked you for the full map, for certainty about what lies ahead. But you rarely give me the map, you give me the moment. You ask me to trust the next step, not to understand the whole journey. That is obedience. Choosing faith over foresight, surrender over strategy. Father, I know obedience is not always easy. It asks for trust when logic rebels, for courage when fear screams louder, for faith when the outcome remains unseen. Sometimes obedience feels like walking into fog, unsure if the path will hold. But each time I have said yes, even trembling, you have met me there with provision I could not have imagined. Your will has never led me where your grace could not sustain me. Every act of obedience becomes a bridge between what is and what could be. God, I do not want to live a life built on convenience. I want a life built on conviction. Let me not be so comfortable that I forget my calling. Disrupt my complacency if you must. Stir my spirit when I settle for less than what you have called me to. Remind me that obedience is not about rules, it is about relationship. It is not about duty. It is about love. The more I know you, the more I want to follow. Not out of fear of punishment, but out of awe of your goodness. Lord, sometimes purpose feels grand, but most days it is simple. It is in how I love those in front of me, how I treat those who can repay me, how I respond when no one is watching. It is in the quiet decisions that shape character when no one sees. You measure faithfulness not by size, but by sincerity. And when I am faithful in the small things, you trust me with more. Purpose begins not with the stage, but with the secret place where I meet you. Listen and choose to obey even when no one notices. Father, there are moments when I doubt whether my life makes a difference. The world seems vast, and I feel small. But you remind me that even a single light can pierce great darkness. My purpose does not have to be loud to be powerful. Every prayer whispered in faith, every act of mercy, every word spoken in love, it all ripples outward in ways I may never see. You multiply what I surrender, You turn obedience into influence, not for my glory, but for yours. God, help me resist the temptation to compare my calling to someone else's. Comparison breeds envy, and envy blinds me to the beauty of my own path. You did not create me to mimic another's mission. You crafted me for something uniquely mine. My story may look quieter, slower, or smaller, but if it is written by your hand, it carries eternal weight. Let me find joy in my portion and fulfillment in faithfulness. Lord, sometimes obedience asks for sacrifice. It asks me to lay down what feels safe, to release plans that once defined me, to say yes when I would rather stay hidden. And yet, every surrender brings new freedom. Each time I let go, I discover that your plans are never a loss, they are a greater gain disguised as trust. I have learned that the hardest obedience often carries the holiest reward. The deep, unshakable knowing that I am where you want me to be. Father, I want my life to sing a song of yes, not a hesitant, conditional yes, but a wholehearted one, the kind that echoes through valleys and mountaintops alike. Let my obedience become worship. My surrender become strength. Even when I do not understand, let my answer still be yes, because every yes builds a bridge between heaven and earth. Every yes turns faith into movement and belief into impact. God, remind me that living with purpose is not about reaching perfection, but staying connected to you. Purpose without presence becomes pride. I can build 1,000 things, but if I lose you in the process, I have gained nothing. Let me walk so closely with you that obedience becomes instinct, that I no longer need to ask, "What should I do?" Because my heart already knows. Do what reflects His love. Lord, I see now that obedience is not about earning blessings, it is about stepping into them. Your will is not a burden. It is a blueprint for freedom. Every time I choose your way over my own, I walk further into the life you designed for me, a life marked not by control, but by trust, not by striving, but by surrender. You do not need my perfection, only my willingness. Father, as this day unfolds, let me live intentionally. Let every word I speak carry grace. Every decision reflect wisdom. Every action flow from love. Let me not waste moments chasing what does not last. Anchor my desires in what is eternal. I want to live in such a way that when others see me, they do not see success, they see surrender. They do not see confidence, they see peace. They do not see striving, they see someone quietly walking in step with her Creator. And as I move forward, Lord, let my purpose be simple yet sacred, to know you more deeply, to love others more fully, and to obey you more completely. Let every sunrise remind me that I am still here for a reason. Let every breath be another opportunity to say yes. And in that yes, may I find not only purpose, but the fullness of life that comes from walking daily in your will. Father, as I continue to walk in the light of purpose and obedience, I realize that every command you have ever given, every lesson you have ever taught, leads back to one simple truth: love. It is the thread that weaves every act of faith together, the language that heaven speaks fluently, and the reason for every breath you have given me. Love is not just what you do, it is who you are. And if I am to live as yours, then love must be the rhythm of my heart, the motivation behind every choice, the fragrance that lingers long after my words have faded. Lord, love sounds beautiful when spoken, but it is tested when lived. It asks more of me than emotion. It asks for endurance, humility, and sacrifice. It calls me to see people the way you see them, not as they appear, but as they are: fragile, wounded, divine in their design, yet often unaware of it. To love like you means to look beyond behavior and see the brokenness beneath. It means to choose kindness over comfort, forgiveness over pride, and compassion over indifference. It is not easy, Father, but every time I choose love when it costs me something, I catch a glimpse of you, God. Teach me to love in the small moments first, in the quiet ways no one notices, the gentle tone when impatience rises, the listening ear when someone needs to speak, the soft response when I could choose sharpness instead. Let my daily life become a prayer of love, not made of grand gestures, but of consistent grace, love that endures traffic jams, misunderstandings, and interruptions. Love that serves without seeking recognition. Love that stays even when it is not returned. Father, confess that sometimes I withhold love when I feel wounded. It is easier to retreat into silence than to risk vulnerability again. But you remind me that love is not about deserving it, it is about reflecting. You loved me when I was distant, rebellious, and self-centered. You pursued me through every wall I built. How can I, who have been loved so completely, choose anything less? Help me to love even when my heart trembles, to give even when I am unsure it will be received. You have shown me that love is not weakness, it is divine strength in motion. Lord, help me also to love myself rightly, not in vanity, but in truth. For so long, I have confused humility with self-contempt, as if seeing myself as worthless somehow honored you. But you never called me worthless. You called me chosen. You formed me with intention, breathed your spirit into my lungs, and declared that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Loving myself means agreeing with what you have already said about me. It means caring for this vessel so it can continue to pour out love to others. When I walk in self-compassion, I am better able to show compassion to the world. God, love also asks for boundaries, and I am learning that too. To love others does not mean to lose myself in their chaos, to enable what harms, or to confuse peace with pleasing. Real love tells the truth, even when it trembles. It says no when necessary, not from anger, but from wisdom. You are both gentle and just, merciful and firm. Teach me that balance, to love without fear, to serve without losing identity, to give without becoming empty. Father, love looks different depending on the season. Sometimes it comforts, other times it challenges. Sometimes it waits patiently, other times it speaks with courage. Love has many expressions, but one essence: it always seeks the good of another. Let my love mirror yours, steadfast, pure, and purposeful. When the world teaches me to love conditionally, remind me that your love has no expiration date. It does not grow weary. It does not withdraw when misunderstood. It simply keeps showing up, Lord, when I look at the world, I see so much pain disguised as anger, so much loneliness hidden behind pride. Help me to look past the mask and see the story underneath. Let me be someone who brings comfort without judgment, who listens more than speaks, who prays instead of criticizes. Make me a safe place for weary souls. Let the love that flows through me be the kind that heals, not the kind that boasts. God, I know love will sometimes break my heart, because true love always costs something. To love deeply means to feel deeply, to rejoice with others in their triumphs, to ache with them in their losses. Yet even in the ache, there is beauty. The more I love, the more I resemble you. You are love incarnate, willing to be wounded so others could be whole. Teach me to love like that, not with guarded affection, but with open hands and an unguarded heart. Father, let me love beyond convenience. Let me love those who are difficult, the ones who challenge my patience, test my compassion, or mirror my own flaws. Let me see them as mirrors, not enemies. For every person I meet is another opportunity to practice your presence. Help me to respond not based on emotion, but on your spirit working within me. When I want to turn away, remind me that you never turned away from me. Lord, I also want to love through action. Let my hands reflect kindness, my words carry hope, my steps lead toward reconciliation. Let my presence bring calm where there is tension, light where there is despair. I do not need to change the world overnight. I only need to love faithfully in the corner of you have placed me. The ripple of one act of love can reach farther than I will ever see. God, when I feel drained, remind me that I am not the source of love, I am the vessel. You are the river that never runs dry. I do not have to manufacture compassion. I only need to remain connected to you. Love flows through me as long as I stay close. The moment I try to love in my own strength, I grow weary. But when I rest in you, love becomes effortless overflow. Father, I pray that love would not just touch my relationships, but transform them. Let it restore what has been broken, soften what has been hardened, and awaken what has been numb. Where resentment once lived, let forgiveness take root. Where distance once divided, let empathy bridge the gap. Love is the greatest miracle, and I believe you still perform it every day through hearts willing to be changed. Lord, as the morning light spreads across the world, I ask that your love be the first thing people feel when they encounter me. Let my eyes see with compassion, my words speak with gentleness, and my actions echo your grace. Let my life itself become a living message that says, you are loved, you are seen, you are not forgotten. And so, God, I choose love again today, not because it is easy, but because it is eternal. I choose to live not for myself, but as a vessel through which your love can move, heal, and transform. And in that choice, I find my truest purpose, my deepest peace, and my clearest reflection of you. Father, after learning to love as you love, I see now that love cannot fully live without forgiveness. The two are threads of the same divine fabric. One cannot endure without the other. Love invites the heart to open, but forgiveness keeps it from closing again. I feel you urging me to go deeper, to release what I still carry, to make space for peace where pain once lived. It is easier to speak of love than to practice forgiveness, because forgiveness costs something invisible but sacred: the right to remain bitter. Yet I know, Lord, that holding on to resentment only binds me, not the one who wronged me. So today, I come before you asking, not just for the will to forgive, but for the grace to do it sincerely. Lord, forgiveness feels like a quiet kind of courage. It is not weakness or denial. It is strength under the weight of memory. I have learned that forgiveness is not forgetting, it is remembering without being ruled by pain. It means choosing freedom over fury, peace over pride. And I realize, Father, that you have already shown me what forgiveness looks like through your own heart. You have forgiven me countless times before I even knew to ask. You never held my past over me. You lifted me from it. You did not erase my mistakes. You transformed them into lessons. You turned shame into story, failure into foundation. If you can forgive me so completely, how can I refuse to forgive others? God, teach me to release what I cannot resolve. Some wounds run deep and seem to resist healing, but even there, your mercy can reach. I do not want to carry grudges disguised as boundaries or bitterness masked as strength. Show me how to hand you the burden of injustice without pretending it did not hurt. You do not ask me to minimize the pain. You ask me to entrust it to you. The moment I forgive, I stop waiting for the past to change. I stop living as a prisoner of what was. Forgiveness is not about erasing truth, it is about reclaiming my peace. Father, help me also forgive myself. Sometimes that is the hardest of all. I replay my failures like echoes that never fade. I carry guilt long after you have released it. But you remind me that grace is not partial. It is complete. You did not die for some of my sins. You covered them all when I refused to forgive myself. I am arguing with the mercy that already won me back. Teach me to see myself as you do, redeemed, restored, still growing. Let my self-forgiveness be an act of gratitude, not arrogance. I am not erasing my past. I am surrendering it to be rewritten by your grace. Lord, sometimes forgiveness means forgiving those who will never apologize. That is the hardest lesson to let go when the other person does not see their wrong. But you remind me that forgiveness is not about them. It is about you and me. It is about refusing to let someone else's actions poison the well of my heart. When I hold on to bitterness, I chain myself to the very pain I want to escape. But when I forgive, I set myself free. You take the weight from my hands and replace it with peace. You teach me that justice belongs to you, not to me. My role is not to balance the scales, but to keep my soul light enough to rise. Father, I know there are times I have been the one who needed forgiveness, the one who spoke in anger, who acted out of fear, who hurt without realizing. Let humility guard my heart. Help me to say I am sorry quickly and mean it deeply. Help me to seek reconciliation when I can, and to accept silence when I cannot. Even when forgiveness is not mutual, let it still be genuine. Let me never use it as a weapon or a way to appear righteous, but as a quiet act of surrender to your will. Lord, forgiveness also teaches patience. Sometimes healing takes time. The mind remembers long after the spirit has released. But that is okay, because forgiveness is a process, not a single act. It is like a garden that must be tended daily, pulling out new weeds that sprout from old roots. Each time pain resurfaces, I can choose again to forgive, and each choice makes the soil of my soul softer, more ready for your peace to grow. You are not disappointed by my need to forgive again. You are pleased that I keep choosing it. God, help me forgive not only individuals, but also seasons. The times that did not turn out as I hoped, the opportunities I lost, the prayers that seemed unanswered. Sometimes resentment hides not toward a person, but toward life itself. Yet you remind me that even the detours had divine purpose. Nothing wasted. Nothing random. You were working even when I could not see, so I released disappointment into your hands, trusting that every chapter, even the painful ones, was necessary for my becoming. Father, give me the grace to live forgiven and forgiving. Let forgiveness be my posture, not my occasional decision. Let it color how I speak, how I listen, how I move through the world. When someone wrongs me, let my first thought not be revenge, but understanding. Let empathy rise before anger. Let compassion soften what could harden. Remind me that every person I meet is carrying unseen battles. Sometimes hurt people hurt others, not from malice, but from unhealed wounds. If I can respond with mercy, perhaps I can interrupt the cycle of pain. Lord, when the world feels harsh and unforgiving, make me a contrast of grace. Let my forgiveness be radical enough to confuse cruelty and heal confusion. Let it shine as proof that love is still stronger than resentment. Forgiveness is the language of eternity, and I want my life to speak it fluently. When I forgive, I echo heaven. When I forgive, I build bridges where walls once stood. When I forgive, I become a small reflection of the vast mercy that sustains me. God, I know that forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Some relationships are not meant to return to what they were, and that is okay. Boundaries can coexist with grace. Let me learn to release people in peace without resentment, to bless them from afar, to wish them healing even when we walk separate roads. Because forgiveness is not the same as trust, and you never ask me to confuse the two. You only ask that I keep my heart free of hatred. Father, as I breathe this morning air, I feel the weight of old hurts lifting. There is space now, space for joy, for peace, for new beginnings. Forgiveness makes room for blessing to enter again. It clears the dust from my spirit and lets light pour in. I do not know what tomorrow brings, but I know this. I want to wake up each day with a heart unburdened. I want to live light, love freely, and give grace generously. So today, Lord, I choose forgiveness again. I choose to release what I cannot control, to heal what I can, and to trust you with the rest. I choose to believe that freedom is found not in holding on, but in letting go. And as I do, I feel your peace settle like sunlight across my soul, gentle, steady, transforming everything it touches. Father, as forgiveness settles into my soul and peace takes root again, I realize that the journey does not end with release, it continues through endurance. Life, in all its beauty and unpredictability, still demands perseverance. You never promised an easy path. You promised your presence. And that, Lord, has been enough. Yet there are mornings when the weight of living feels heavy, when even faith feels like work. So I come to you now, asking for strength, not the kind that overpowers, but the kind that outlasts. The strength that stands quietly when the wind howls, that keeps walking when the road disappears, that believes even when sight fails. God, perseverance is not about pushing harder. It is about trusting deeper. It is the art of remaining steady in the storm, because the anchor is secure. You remind me that resilience is not born from willpower, but from relationship. When I stay close to you, my endurance is not my own, it is borrowed from your infinite strength. You carry what I cannot, and somehow I keep standing. The secret of perseverance is not my effort. It is your faithfulness. You do not ask me to be unshaken. You ask me to keep returning. Lord, I have learned that perseverance does not mean perfection. It means continuing when I would rather quit. It is choosing to pray even when the heavens feel silent, to serve even when the reward is unseen, to hope even when the outcome disappoints. You see the steps I take in the dark, the tears that never reach my voice, the quiet battles no one applauds, and you whisper, "Keep going." Those two words have saved me more times than I can count. Keep going not because you see the end, but because I am in every step. Father, help me to remember that perseverance is not a race against others, but a rhythm of faithfulness to you. The world measures success by speed and visibility, but you measure by endurance and obedience. You are not impressed by how quickly I arrive. You are moved by how faithfully I remain. When the world celebrates bursts of brilliance, you bless consistency. So when progress feels slow, when dreams delay, let me not mistake stillness for failure. Sometimes you pause me not to punish, but to prepare. God, I see now that every valley has its hidden purpose. Pain is not proof of abandonment. It is the soil where strength grows. Like roots reaching deeper in drought, my spirit stretches toward you when everything else dries up. Perseverance is not glamorous. It is sacred in its quiet resilience. It is showing up to life when the heart feels fragile. It is trusting that one day, the seeds sown in tears will bloom in joy. You waste nothing, not even the struggle. Every moment of endurance is an offering you receive with tenderness. Lord, I admit there are times I confuse perseverance with numbness. I push forward but without peace, endure without joy, survive without hope. That is not the endurance you call me to. Yours is not grim survival, it is grace-filled persistence. You do not want me to harden. You want me to stay soft, open, alive. Perseverance with you is not a clenched fist, it is an open hand held in yours. It is not fueled by pride. It is sustained by love. Father, help me to pace my heart. Teach me that lasting strength comes from rest, not resistance. Even Jesus withdrew to lonely places to pray. Even the sun sets before rising again. Endurance without renewal becomes exhaustion. And you never called me to burn out while trying to shine. Let my perseverance be balanced with pauses in your presence. When I stop to breathe, I am not losing ground, I am gathering grace. You remind me that resilience is not built by constant motion, but by sacred rhythm moving. Resting. Trusting. God, give me patience with your timing. I confess that waiting tests me more than hardship does. When answers delay and silence stretches, I begin to doubt. But you work in the unseen, orchestrating things I cannot yet comprehend. You are never late, never hurried, never uncertain. My impatience is often a sign of my fear that you have forgotten me. But you have not. You are shaping me while I wait. You are strengthening faith muscles I did not know I had. Waiting is not wasted when I wait with you. Lord, when perseverance feels lonely, remind me that I am never truly alone. You walk beside me, whispering strength into my weakness. Sometimes you send others to a friend's word, a stranger's kindness, a song that finds me at just the right moment. You have a way of weaving encouragement through ordinary encounters. Help me to notice them. Help me also to become that encouragement for someone else, to remind another weary soul that they too can keep going, that they too are seen, held, loved. Father, teach me to persevere not just through hardship, but through ordinary days. It is easy to endure in crisis. It is harder to stay faithful in routine. Help me to find purpose in repetition, holiness in habit, beauty in the everyday. Let perseverance be not a desperate clinging, but a calm devotion. I want to live with quiet consistency, a heart that wakes every morning and says, still here, still grateful, still trusting. That is victory enough. God, I also ask for wisdom to discern when perseverance means staying and when it means releasing. Sometimes you call me to hold on. Other times you invite me to move on. Let my strength not become stubbornness. Let my endurance not trap me in what you have already released. Give me the humility to surrender what no longer serves your will, and the courage to persist where you still call me to grow. Lord, perseverance also requires hope. Without it, effort becomes emptiness. Hope is what keeps the flame alive when everything around me grows cold. Remind me that my hope is not in outcomes, but in you, the one who turns endings into beginnings, losses into lessons, silence into songs. Even when I cannot see how, I trust that you are still working, still weaving, still redeeming. Father, as I walk forward, let my perseverance be marked by peace, not pressure. Let me move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that I am sustained by something greater than my willpower. Let my endurance become testimony that faith can outlast fear, that love can outlive loss, that grace can outshine despair. Each day I rise. I am proof of your strength within me. So today, Lord, I lift my eyes again. The horizon may still be far, but you are near. The path may twist and climb, but your light still guides. I will keep walking not perfectly, but persistently. And as I do, I trust that each step, no matter how small, is leading me closer to the life you have prepared, the peace you have promised, and the joy that waits quietly beyond this stretch of faith. Father, as this long journey of morning prayers nears its quiet horizon, I find myself reflecting on how much you have changed through each whispered word, each surrendered breath. From the first moment I called your name in the stillness before sunrise to this final reflection, you have been present, steady, patient, kind. Every chapter has been another step back toward you, another reminder that life begins again each morning. And though my voice reaches the end of this prayer, my spirit knows there is no end to the conversation between you and me. It continues, carried softly in the rhythm of my heart. Lord, I have walked through the valleys of doubt, stood beneath skies of mercy, and rested in the shelter of your love. You have taught me that faith is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to believe through it. I have learned that peace is not found in the silence of life's storms, but in your voice whispering through them. You have reminded me that joy is not something earned, it is something discovered in gratitude with every dawn. You have pulled me gently from the shadows of fear into the light of hope. God, I thank you for the mornings when I felt weak but still rose, for the nights when I felt forgotten but still prayed. You turned my questions into quiet trust and my brokenness into testimony. I used to think faith was built on certainty, but now I know it grows stronger through surrender. Each day that I chose to show up in your presence, you restored something in me that the world could not touch. You rewrote my definition of victory, not as triumph over others, but as peace within myself. Father, I see now that this time of prayer was never about asking alone. It was about becoming. Through each petition and pause, you shaped my soul, smoothing the edges worn by worry. You turned waiting into worship, weakness into wisdom, and wandering into purpose. You showed me that the sacred is not hidden in grand moments, but lives quietly in the ordinary. A soft word, a sunrise, the sound of laughter, the grace of forgiveness. Every breath has become a reminder that I am alive not by chance, but by your design. Lord, I have learned that faith is not a single flame, but a collection of small lights. Each prayer, each act of kindness, each moment of trust adds another spark to the fire within. When I faltered, you never scolded, you steadied me. When I resisted, you waited. When I wept, you gathered every tear like seeds for something beautiful yet to bloom. You are the gardener of my soul, pruning not to punish, but to prepare me for greater growth. In every loss, you planted renewal. In every silence, you whispered direction. God, as I look ahead, I do not ask for an easy path, but for a faithful heart. A heart that remembers how far you have brought me, how gently you have carried me. Let me live from the lessons these prayers have taught, to rise with gratitude, to walk with compassion, to rest with confidence in your plan. When challenges come again, as they surely will, remind me of this peace that came from persistence. Let it anchor me, not to comfort, but to calling. Father, I thank you for those who have walked with me through this journey, the unseen companions listening to these prayers, drawing closer to you in their own quiet moments. Bless each heart that has joined in these mornings, seeking hope, strength, and renewal. Let them feel your nearness now, as real as the breath that fills their lungs. Remind them that prayer does not end when words stop, it lives on in action. In kindness, in how we treat one another. May every listener carry this sacred rhythm into their own mornings, turning routine into reverence, and every sunrise into an altar of gratitude. Lord, for the one who feels weary, breathe fresh courage. For the one who feels unseen, reveal your presence in gentle ways. For the one who feels unworthy, remind them that grace was never earned, it was always given. Let these prayers continue to echo long after the sound fades, reminding every heart that it is never too late to begin again. You specialize in new beginnings. The past may have shaped us, but it does not define what comes next. God, I lift this final moment like a quiet offering, not as an ending, but as a continuation, a bridge from words to life. Let every listener rise from this time with renewed faith and open eyes. Let their mornings become sacred ground where worry dissolves and purpose awakens. Let their homes be filled with peace, their hearts with strength, their voices with gratitude, and as they step into each day, let them remember that the same light that rises over the earth rises within them too. Father, I feel the day breaking now. The sky softens into gold, the air hums with promise, and the world begins again. In this quiet light, everything feels possible. The journey that began in darkness now ends in dawn, not as a farewell, but as a reminder that you are both the beginning and the continuation of every story. The light that touched this morning will return tomorrow, and the prayers we have shared will keep glowing long after. To those who have journeyed through all these chapters, thank you for walking this path of faith and reflection with me. Thank you for opening your hearts to the quiet work of grace. If these words have spoken to you, share them, let them reach others who may need a spark of hope. Leave your thoughts, your prayers, your stories below, for we are strengthened when faith is shared. Stay connected, stay inspired, and remember to nurture this habit of meeting God each morning. Subscribe, share, and return to this space whenever you need stillness, whenever your heart needs reminding that you are never alone. The morning light stretches across the horizon now, soft and golden. The wind moves gently through the trees, carrying the fragrance of a new day. Somewhere, a stream begins to glimmer beneath the sun's first touch, and in that light, I feel it, the quiet assurance that faith does not end here. It only begins again with each breath, each sunrise, each step into the day that awaits.